Okay, brown.
So
What is that? What do we have in the background? Is that a Yankee game?
no, they're not playing tonight.
Oh, because of this hurricane?
Yeah,
They're not playing the Hurricanes tonight?
no, and the Hurricanes are a hockey team anyway.
Okay.
It might actually be Sam's TV that you're hearing though, because mine is my volume's pretty low.
Oh, okay.
I just turned off. All right, I just turned off. I just put the TV on mute. I'm gonna order dinner now, though. I'm not gonna do it through Seamless because they're just gonna charge an extra fee.
Yep.
Hi, can I have a delivery, please?
Sure.
Give me just a minute here.
All right, I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay, no doubt.
See, I was really hoping that he wouldn't mute himself so that we could have another edition of the
Yeah.
Yes,
customer service.
Order for delivery. I unmuted myself for you. I'm gonna pay with a card.
The card, you got it. All right, let me get this set up real quick, man. Your address, please.
Everyone's gonna hear your card, Sam.
Okay, now I'll mute him back. I'll mute him back. We don't need to hear that.
There are people online who can read lips. Let's see, his card number is blank, 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 blank.
Blank, blank, blankety blank.
So how have you been?
I'm still dying to know what's grinding Cynthia's gears.
Oh yeah, you never know, right?
Yeah. Like,
You never know. It could be anything.
could be anything. But I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to figure out what could possibly be grinding her gears that she thinks that specific person would have like the best insight on it. So I'm thinking it's something like military related or something, or like
Oh yeah, probably just some silly argument on Facebook.
or a silly argument on Facebook, but which I deal with every day.
Yeah.
Not with her, but in general, I deal with stupid people on Facebook every day.
There's an abundance of them.
Today I heard the craziest thing though on one of the Facebook groups that I'm in. Like I heard this thing about how apparently in the contact tracing program in the city that they're actually talking about like possibly having like kids separated from their parents if they have to quarantine if they test positive. Like I saw this in one of my teacher Facebook groups, and I think that's like how do they even do that? Like that can't happen. Like if you're gonna arrest somebody for not properly supervising their kid, but then you're gonna put them in a hotel room, like a kid in a hotel room by themselves for 2 weeks, like with no adult supervision. Like what sense does that make?
Yeah.
What is this, some kind of federal mandate or something?
Oh, who knows? Like, I'm not sure, like, if it's city or federal or whatnot, but I was reading somewhere that apparently some parents are scared about, like, putting their kids in any kind of contact tracing protocol that might occur from, like, coming back to school, because they're afraid that, like, if they find out, say, for example, that, like, the kid tests positive and they don't have like a second bathroom, which realistically most New York City apartments do not have.
Right.
Like, because the CDC recommendation is that like people who are COVID positive quarantine in their own bedroom and use a different bathroom than the rest of the family. These people are actually afraid. Some of these people are actually afraid to like put kids through any kind of contact tracing protocol for fear that like some government official is going to ask them if they have like a separate bedroom and bathroom for the kid, and if they don't, like take the kid away to quarantine.
Oh God, that's infuriating.
What infuriating that people would take the kid away to quarantine, or the infuriating that people are like reticent to provide information about their kid possibly testing positive?
Ugh.
You know, if they're going to take kids away.
Yeah, I know this isn't entirely the same thing, but as somebody who works in family court, I know this isn't exactly what you're talking about, but the single, probably most infuriating allegation that I have to see all the time on these petitions is when I will see the allegations will be that like the parents left the children home alone for like several hours. And like that's
And how old are the kids?
And like that, well, does it matter? Like that's, I mean, it does, but you know, that's the thing that infuriates me about that is that these are like frequently when this happens, these are people with like no other resources. So they're literally
that's
home
different.
alone because they have to go to work. So
Yeah.
you know, I'm glad, like seriously, I'm glad that like, you know, a concerned neighbor saw what was happening and, you know, expressed concern for the child's welfare. But if it came to that, once it got down to that, and once they identified what the issue was, why they couldn't just like leave it alone. If they knew that that's what was going on, it's so like a lot of these parents, like they don't know anybody. They don't like if they don't have the money to pay for a babysitter. And it's just like, that's really, why are you like, that's the thing that really gets my goat is to see these people dragged through the system literally because they don't have the money like to do otherwise. So.
No, I think I agree with that. Like, that's why I say like, you know, it's hypocrisy on the system. Like if they're like making stupid fucking paperwork for that,
Yeah.
excuse my French.
That's okay.
But then like, well, I know you don't have to excuse my French, but the viewers.
I hear it. There are a lot of other reasons that I see. There are a lot of other allegations that are a lot more serious that I see. They're like, oh, okay, it's a good thing it's a good thing that these parents are being like, you know, that like there's a case being filed against them. Like it is, like, do you know what I mean? Like there's a need for an investigation to find out whether or not that if something serious like this is happening. But I mean, if that's all that's
if the
going on,
kid's being left home alone, like why is this worthy of like
it's not
dragging them through the mud?
It's not.
Like
and it's not. Especially if, you know, and at a certain point, it gets to the point where it's like, well, this is actually called training the children to be adults. So,
you know what gets me is that when like some like nosy Nancy like sticks
occasionally what happens in cases like this.
Like sticks her nose and like inserts herself into somebody's business because, and then calls the police to report that like an 11-year-old is home alone or something like that.
I know.
Which I think is ludicrous because I'm pretty sure I was allowed to stay home alone at 11.
Yeah, exactly. It's not usually. Actually, no, that's not true. Occasionally, I did once see, yeah, it was something like that where they were like, not that old, but close. And that's just like, ugh, you know what I mean? Like, what do you, like, why? Like, why are you doing this to them?
Because I feel like, you know, like a 10 or 11-year-old, like, albeit it's only a couple of years off albeit puberty goes fast, but I keep thinking like, say like people who are being nosy Nellies or nosy Nancies or whatever you want to call them, like complaining about an 11-year-old being left home alone. I keep thinking, you know, I really was not that much older than that when I started getting paid to babysit other people's kids.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like back in our day,
Yeah,
not only would a middle schooler have been allowed to stay home, but other people would have paid you to watch their younger kids.
yeah, yeah,
Like, and
yeah.
I feel like it's just, I feel like that what's called free range parenting today was just parenting when we were kids.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yep. I actually, it's funny, that reminds me of a funny story. We were talking about work one day where one of the attorneys, I won't mention any names, but one of the attorneys was talking about how she, was talking about how the system totally, you know, completely is biased against poor, like just basically poor people, because it's poor people who are always the ones who are
Suffer.
dragged. They always the one who are dragged and suffer. And she was talking about how or like it's specifically poor people of color who are like dragged through the system for doing things that other parents like would not necessarily get criticized for. Like for instance, like they'd be accused of like being alcoholics or having drinks, like about being a parent. And
Or like having drinks while their child is present.
yeah, something like, but that would be like in the allegation, or the allegation would be that their alcohol consumption renders it like too difficult for them to properly parent. And and then this attorney was also saying, so they're getting accused of stuff like that, but she has friends who are parents, and she sees them drink all the time, and nothing ever, and because they're white and rich, nothing ever happens to them. And then I swear, I love this woman so much. One of the other supervisors in the office says, she goes, "I do not drink all the time." I just laughed so hard. She's just like, I occasionally just like a glass of wine. I was so,
But it's so
cracked
true,
me up.
though. Like, it's so true. Like, I feel like that, like, the culture of being like a wine mom is kind of glorified in white upper middle class culture, but
or just upper middle class culture.
or just upper middle class culture in general.
Yeah.
But it's mainly white women, whereas like people like low income people.
I don't know. I think a lot of people. I know people who. I know plenty of people who like a good glass of wine after the day's work.
But what I'm saying is that the people who often like get away with it more tend to be like white soccer moms.
But it's also
In my
generally
opinion.
it's just generally like, the more money you have, the more you can get away
Yeah,
with that.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think
What,
like
drinking, you're saying? Or
What
you
I'm
get away with
saying-
drinking?
Yeah.
drink, like people who
But just
call
in general?
people who call child services
Parents,
as
like parents. Like if the
Okay.
more money you have as a parent, the more money you have, like the more likely you will be able to do things that other people would have child services called on them for. So
Well,
yeah.
like, I was reading another article too. Like, I was reading an article recently that was talking about like, because, like, it's funny you should mention like some of these things because like I had mentioned in the group chat earlier this week, I was prepping my lessons for this week, and the unit is reproduction and development. So we're discussing, like, so I'm teaching about like fetal development and the things that can affect a baby that a pregnant woman isn't supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
like, how do I phrase this? Like, but it's interesting because while I was searching for like informational videos, I was running into like all of these like articles and videos that were talking about like women getting their kids taken away because their kids like because they tested the kid's poop for drugs and the kid had THC in his system.
Really?
And I just feel like, you know, that not passing a moral judgment, not saying it's right or wrong, but that I feel like that wouldn't happen to like as easily to like upper middle class, to like wealthier moms, that they might not even drug test the kid in the first place. Like, and I don't purport to pass judgment on whether it's right or wrong to do that kind of thing, like to drink or smoke marijuana while you're pregnant or whatever. And I personally, not that it's a current concern, I personally lean towards like wanting to abstain when I personally am pregnant, if only for the fact that like I would rather be safe than sorry. And I
Wait, are you saying they're testing the kids?
yeah, the
Poop, or like,
baby.
oh, babies? Oh,
Like
as if,
babies when they're born are
oh,
if they test
I see.
positive for THC, are being like pulled by child services from the parents,
Hmm.
when sometimes like the mom had gotten like a medical marijuana prescription for nausea or something like that during the pregnancy. And I mean, I personally, for myself, I see myself abstaining during pregnancy simply like when it comes to that time, simply because like I wouldn't say that I'm addicted to any substance, and B, like I'm kind of like just like that in general, the type of person where I'd rather be safe than sorry.
You're
But
saying these people have prescriptions that were specifically for while they were pregnant, or?
I think like what it is that like they got prescriptions from holistic doctors while they were pregnant, or recommendations, and then they
Oh,
maybe
and then they went to a regular hospital that didn't recognize it?
yeah, something like that. And so the kids got taken away. And it's like, here's my thing about it, like it is, and I did say this earlier in the group chat, like when Cynthia said I'd rather talk about hot guys, but this is like kind of like an interesting ethical question, is that like if a pregnant woman is in pain, is it worse for the baby to prescribe painkillers for the mom, or just tell them to go home and smoke some weed? You know what I mean? Like obviously the ideal would be like none of the above, but if it was like you have to pick one situation,
Sounds like a medical question
Yeah,
more than
that's not
ethical.
something that I feel. Yeah, I don't feel like I could adequately answer that. And this is mostly based. It seems like it's based on speculation anyway, so I don't really know.
I mean, I personally feel like that, like maybe I could answer it better than like some people, than a lot of people, like having a background in like in biology and neurology.
Okay.
But it's like to be honest, I feel like that like obviously the correct answer is none, but like if it's like a lesser of two evils situation, I feel like that like honestly that a pregnant woman who smokes a little bit of weed is doing less harm to the baby than somebody who takes opioids, simply because of like some of the documentaries that I've seen about like babies being born addicted to opiates and having to like physically addicted to opiates and having to wean them off, whereas that
Is
doesn't
worse.
happen.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you're
with
talking about
marijuana.
strong. You're talking about strong painkillers. You're not just talking about. You're not just talking
just
about
talking
over the
about-
counter.
I'm not talking about Aleve. I'm talking about Percocet
Yeah.
That's worse.
and that like I feel like
That's why all these little rappers are addicted to. That's why they're always rapping about Molly's and Percocets, right? They're getting addicted really young.
Oh,
some of
Parents
them.
are.
yeah, that's interesting. When I fractured my ankle 5 years ago, I remember my mom she wanted me to take less than the prescribed amount of dose of
Because she was worried.
of Percocet that I was prescribed because she was worried about me getting addicted to it. And I totally understood her concern. However, I agreed to not refill the prescription. I agreed to just let however much they gave me. Like I would just take that and then let that suffice. I wouldn't get another refill. It was, however, very painful. So when I tried not taking it, and it was very, very difficult to manage without that right directly after the accident. So I do understand. I understand what the concern would be about potentially getting addicted to it. Yeah, because I know that if you take that too far and you decide that all of a sudden you can't get on without it, there is that risk that gets run. So it's pretty intense. But yeah, I don't know anything about. I didn't know about rappers rapping about Percocets, but I'm sure that's there.
Well, it's become, like, it's just
It's
become this
become a running
recreational.
theme.
Yeah, it's become a regular thing. Like there's a song Molly Percocet.
Yeah, I think I want to say that's Future who does that song. I'm not sure though. I know what song you're talking about, but yeah, no, there's a large culture of like.
It's Future.
It is. Oh, so I'm right.
Hi, Katie.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up, lady?
Ladies.
Which the irony is, they say Future doesn't even really do drugs like that, and that's like half of what he raps about.
Maybe he's been
Sold a lot of them.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. People always forget that he's part of the Dungeon family. Even when they're doing Dungeon family stuff, or when they're giving props to like that whole area, they always leave out Future's name. I'm like, how are you going to leave out the person who is currently, like probably the most popular
in the forefront for them?
Yeah, he's like the most popular one. But his sound is so different from the rest of that era and like the rest of that, area or that group, that they just totally forget the Future was down with them.
But no, you're right that it is like a major theme in music, like people talking about like people rapping about drugs.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I didn't realize that Percocet or painkillers were in there, but that makes sense. They're always talking about there's like cocaine and heroin and all sorts of other drugs. So why wouldn't that be in there too?
Well, no one raps about heroin, like as far as like we're talking about. People are rapping about recreational use, right? No one raps about recreational heroin use, but people.
Honestly, I feel like heroin is more of a white people problem now, anyways.
Well, it's starting to spread, but I mean, I think you're right, but I think the problem is like even opioids are starting to spread beyond just a white person.
I mean, it's always going to be an everybody problem, but I feel like it's much more widespread within like white communities than those white communities are willing to admit.
Yeah.
I believe Big Pharma doesn't publicize the celebrity endorsements that it gets.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Well, like they don't publicly, like, for instance, if Shaq endorses a product, we'll know that Shaq endorses that product and that company
Like the
got Shaq
general
to
life
endorse that product.
insurance.
But if Future endorses Percocet, we wouldn't know that they went to him to get him to do it.
Oh, I see.
Oh, so you're saying
Are you
like
saying
product placement
Future
in
may
lyrics?
be getting some money from the industry?
I'm quite sure. I mean, well, Mike, and you guys may know too. Half the music that's out now, people would have went to jail for 20 years ago.
Oh yeah,
What do you mean?
they're
Half
so
the music
blatant
that's
about
out now,
everything.
people would have went to jail for 20 years ago. If he was rapping a Percocet song 20 years ago, he would have went to jail.
You think?
Absolutely.
I mean, we're in an age where it's common, and where it's been seen that rap lyrics have been evidence admitted in federal court, so anything's possible.
I mean, you do remember the censorship era, right? Where you couldn't rap about drugs, you couldn't rap about stuff like
Tipper Gore, like the Tipper Gore stickers.
Well,
and then like overnight, it was cool.
oh, okay. Well, they censored you on the radio, or they put a sticker on your album,
Right.
or they steamrolled over your albums.
Right. And then
Like
overnight, it was
Boris
cool.
Tucker.
My belief is it became cool once corporations started investing in private prisons.
Well, I mean, censorship is still there. There's still a sticker, and you still can't.
Well, and the music industry still manipulates who they want to be the most popular. Like, they still pay people off to listen to Ariana Grande. Like,
Oh, well, that's the machine. That's That's the labels behind you. The machines, yeah. The machines will push. I mean, record industries have been doing that since way back, like way back.
yeah, no, I mean, like, record industries
At least
have
since the 50s, if not earlier.
But I think the point is that I think the point is
My Tom is higher.
I hear children. I think the point is that that the music industry picks and chooses who they want to be popular, but if you're not either like the chosen one by the music industry or product pushing in your tracks, you don't really get like the airplay or what have you. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't really get into any of that conspiracy stuff. I mean, sure. Like,
I don't
mean,
think it's
listen,
a conspiracy though.
what product? Like, you're not gonna put someone on the radio unless they have product placement in their music.
No, unless either the industry wants you or you have product placement in your music. Because
Well, the industry doesn't want anyone. The industry just wants to make money.
Yes.
no,
So, like,
that's-
there's no like favorite.
they
There's no
want
like.
people. They play favorites. They play favorites with artists like Ariana Grande or Taylor Swift or Justin
Yeah, because
Bieber.
those people make money for them, and those people appeal to teenage boys from the age of 11 to 14 or whatever that sweet group is. I mean, that's why
Yeah, but so does most rap music. And do you see the industry pushing them more than they push Grande and Bieber?
it depends on the rapper. Yeah, Drake, definitely. Drake, teenage girls love Drake, and he's fucking huger than huge. I mean,
Well,
it's
yeah,
not like no one's
Drake
like
is-
all they care about
Drake
is
is
money.
rapper.
It's not like you think
Drake
some
is
old
rapper light though. Drake, like They're not.
He really isn't. I mean, for people who really listen to the music, he really isn't rapper light. If you
But
take
he's-
just his raps, he's like bar for bar. He's pretty heavy. I mean, he
But
fucking
he's
took out Meek Mill for God's sakes.
Who's
Yeah,
He
but
heavy?
took out he took out a
He's so
gangster.
poppy.
He took out a yeah. I mean, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that like he is actually a strong rapper.
Who?
Drake.
And I'm not saying that he's
Yeah.
not, but you know, what I am saying is that they do keep artists out that they don't think are going to appeal to the pop mainstream, even
Yeah,
if
they want to make money.
no. But what I'm saying is they keep them out if they object to them for a moral reason too,
I don't know about all
even
that.
if they will
It's all
make money.
it's all about money. Like, listen, if it became like really popular again to like listen to super conscious music, like look at J. Cole. You know, J. Cole is doing really well. He's a dope artist. He's doing his thing.
Kendrick's doing well.
Kendrick Lamar
Yep.
is doing really well. I mean, the industry just wants to make money. That's all they care about. There's no old white guy saying, hey, let's push Bieber. We like him more than, you know, this black guy who can make us money. Like, they don't give a shit. I mean, look how, like we grew up, I mean, me and KD, like, you know, we grew up like the 90s was like a big thing where like first everyone like was kind of like against gangster rap, which only made it much bigger and made more money. And meanwhile, like the labels were just making a shit ton of money off of it the whole time. And it was just getting bigger and bigger. And there were a few spots like Ice-T's Body Count or whatever, and, you know, NWA's like Fuck the Police. Those were like shockers to America.
But here's my point: like, the industry could cash cow off Nicki Minaj, for example. How did Nicki Minaj not have a #1 song until this year?
She's doing fine to me. I mean,
But yet Ariana Grande has had so many. To me, like,
well, yeah. I
That's-
mean,
that doesn't make
Ariana,
sense.
Ariana Grande is a bigger machine.
yeah, she's a little non-threatening white girl. I mean,
See,
yeah.
but you've just proven my point that the industry would rather push a non-threatening white girl than like a Nicki Minaj from South Jamaica, Queens.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not about push. It's about like appeal and like, I don't know. I just don't look into it that way. They're gonna push whoever they think is gonna make money for them.
It's
you
not,
know?
but it is a push because Billboard is turning the other way, while like artists are like say like attaching their singles to merchandise bundles, or attaching their singles to a cause, or you know, doing something shocking to get people to buy their music. And this is condoned and pushed by their managers, and they're looking the other way. Like, I
Look.
heard like I read that they found some irregularities with an Ariana Grande song where something like 400 copies of the song were bought by one credit card. And if that isn't a conspiracy, I don't know what is.
It's not a conspiracy. It's business. See, that's what people don't understand. It's just like
That's just a label buyback.
this is business as usual. None of this is like conspiracy. Like, conspiracy is something totally different. This is like regular, everyday stuff they've been doing since the 50s. None of this is weird.
But it's not weird, but it's not right either.
Well, yeah, I mean, the sky is blue and water's wet, and yeah, the record industry is shady. Yeah, that's what a Tribe Called Quest said. Industry rule number 380. The record industry is shady. Like, yeah, that's old news. It always has been. I mean, Berry Gordy, little known to most people, Berry Gordy is a shady dude, and he helped produce some of the most amazing music. But if you went against Berry Gordy and didn't do what he wanted you to do, he could shut your whole shit down. Like, people did not want to like help like move your album or do concert venues with you if you didn't have like the machine behind you. Yeah, the shit's been shady for a long time. But back to the
I think
commerce
they push white people's music though, and that gets me.
thing. All right,
Like they push music of privilege, like Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift is music of that reeks of privilege to me.
yeah, it's shitty pop music. I mean, that's, I mean, they make shitty pop music. That's what makes money. That's what they can put in the background of commercials. A black woman from New York City rapping bars isn't going to sell as many commercials as a skinny white chick is.
But it's terrible music.
Yeah,
Like
it is. It's horrible.
Ariana
Yeah.
Grande and Taylor Swift, it's terrible music.
Yeah, it's
not
pop. The more
very
pop, yeah, the more pop.
No, that's an opinion. That's not a fact. That's just an opinion.
Well, I mean, popcorn. They call it, popcorn. I mean, the more pop it is, the more it sells.
But they don't have. I mean, you could say that's an opinion, but for somebody who's in like, I feel like somebody who is a professional musician would say that their music is very, like, as far as music theory, that it's very simple.
What do you
No,
base it on?
that's what pop music is. It's simple. It's fair. It's easy to the ear. It's not very difficult to sing, right? Like
it's
like-
repeats of, it's not musically complex, like it's repeats
Yeah.
of the same melody over and
Oh,
over and
horribly,
over again.
horribly so. There's even names for certain melody lines that have been real popular that they've repeated over and over. Yeah, it's horribly repetitive. It's not interesting or challenging to the ear. It's the opposite of jazz music, which is which is like a music that is challenging. And
Yes,
it's like it's the opposite of like jazz singers like sing very interesting notes, lots of minors and like lots of interesting notes that the average person might not be able to duplicate listening to, right? Whereas pop singers sing something like the alphabet song or the birthday song, right? Those are very easy for like anyone, including young kids, to duplicate.
But like for me, pop music is like, modern pop music is like, akin to a virus, because it's just so, it's just so like melodically, harmonically simple.
Yeah.
That and the lyrics are so like repetitive.
Vapid. Yeah.
And
it's vapid.
vapid that
Yeah,
like
it's
I feel like it's a I feel like it's a virus, like pop, like quite frankly I feel like Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift are the equivalent of like a virus.
Yeah, they create
creative world.
they create catchy music. It's earworms, right? It's very catchy. It's not very interesting. It's like comparing like R. Kelly to like Michael Jackson or whatever,
The king
right?
of pop.
Like
The king of pop.
yeah, but pop was different back then.
Well, there's also extenuating circumstances with R. Kelly.
Forget the extenuating circumstances. Just to keep it strictly music, R. Kelly's music is very repetitive, which I never understood why people gave him so much props for his music. Maybe there's something there that I just don't understand, but like very repetitive and like very vapid lyrics. Like, you remind me of my Jeep, I want to ride you. Remind me of my credit card, I want to spend you. And like that is like a lot of it's just really repetitive, like da 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 da, and it's like, how long can you listen to this? Like the melody's like not even changing. It's not progressing. It's not doing anything. I don't understand how people can like listen to it.
I don't
But-
understand how people have the attention span for it. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like it's like, I have like an inhuman dislike for like
Yeah,
for,
some
like,
people
pop
are different.
artists.
Yeah, some people are different. The average person just wants to be able to sing along with it. So the simpler it is, the more enjoyable it is. If
But
you're
I think-
doing like if you're doing a lot of riffs and you're doing like hard to hit like notes that are hard to find, it's not the same. Unless you get to a level where you're just so great, unless you reach like greatness, now you're so great that you transcend the pop thing. So like Michael Jackson crowning himself the king of pop was a great marketing move. But even when you look at Michael's music, the difference between Thriller and Off the Wall, and then later some of those songs that were produced by some of those pop duos and some of those pop groups, like there's one Michael Jackson album I don't even like, and that's like hard to think of, like hard to say, like how can you not like a Michael Jackson album? But there's one album that's like, it's just this poppy, it's just too pop, and it's not good to me. But it's like, what's that?
Which one?
Let's see. I think it's not. I don't think it's.
But I just
Invisible.
feel like that, like lyrically, that Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift are like, you know, unlike Michael Jackson, or even unlike somebody like Madonna, or even unlike Lady Gaga. Like I don't consider to be in this category, but Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande, I feel like their music and their lyricism just like reeks of privilege.
Well, again,
That
pop
bothers
music.
me.
Pop music in the '80s was different. Like Madonna was incredible. Madonna was like incredible music. And remember that Whitney Houston, that was considered pop. That was a different level of music. You know, like even that. I went back to my argument with Ish and that song, like, you know, I want somebody to dance
I
with.
want to dance with somebody who loves
Yeah,
me.
I want to dance with somebody who loves me. She stretches a lot of those notes in a soulful way that you don't do with like vapid pop songs. It's just like it's unpoppy. So like whatever she did with that song was incredible. But there are notes that, you know.
I still think that was a very pop song.
No, that's not. You're missing my point entirely. That's not my point. My point was like Ish's point was like this song was so left field that it was out of her wheelhouse, and it was strictly a way to like get her into the mainstream, as if it was like she were selling her soul by like doing this song. Now I'm putting words into his mouth a little bit. Whatever. I'm sure.
Oh
he'll
yeah,
object.
I didn't
I'm
take
sure-
it. That's how he
I'm
meant.
sure he'll
Oh
object.
yeah, talk about him when he's not here.
But listen, like it was this whole like, you know, as if she wouldn't have really done a song like that, or as if it wasn't showing off her voice. You listen to that song, it does. It simultaneously makes you want to dance and shows off her voice, and that was like something different about the '80s. Was like pop music still had like a soulful quality to it, you know, and it's still like even what she's talking about kind of moves you. Like it's this deeper. It's like this like romance thing. Like, you know, you want someone who like, you know.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that's. I know. I hear exactly what you're saying. I didn't think that that's what he meant by it at all. I think he was just saying that to him it sounded like it was a song that was different than anything else that she had ever done. That's what I heard him say.
Right. No, and that's what I disagreed with.
But what
Which
gets
is
me
okay.
is where is the integrity of the art form when it comes to what's popular? Because it's inhuman to me, like it's incomprehensible to me that so many people would actually like such horrible music to put it #1 on Billboard.
Yeah, it's popcorn. It's popcorn. People
Well,
like
that's
popcorn.
okay. That's yeah.
People like McDonald's. You know, like if you does anyone here still eat McDonald's or Burger King?
No.
Okay, do you remember when you stopped?
I never started, but that's just me.
Okay, do you remember when you stopped?
When it started giving me indigestion.
Okay, did you ever try to go back to it for like just like once and like eat it?
I did that once.
Okay, how did it taste to you?
I'm different.
But did it taste like as good as you remembered it?
No.
Yeah, see, that's that's the thing. It's like they put addictive qualities in there, and you think that Burger King and McDonald's is like the best food, and then by the time you stopped eating it and started eating real food, one day you just had this, you just like were reminiscing on it, and you try to go back to it, and you're like, yuck, this is actually disgusting, right? Like you're not addicted to it anymore, and you can't eat it. That's kind of like, it's like being out of the Matrix or something. It's not it doesn't appeal to you, so you can't understand how most people like appeal to it.
So what you're implying is that like because I stopped listening to a lot of pop music, now I think it's like not
Well,
good.
no, because I don't know your history. I don't know if you ever listened to it or not.
But
I guess
here's
I'm
the
just
thing: is like in the '90s, like because I was a teenager and I didn't have a very sophisticated palate. Like I did listen to like the Spice Girls or like NSYNC or whatever like the equivalent was back then.
Yeah.
But I just feel like that their songs were just I get the point. Like what you're saying is that Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift are supposed to be like today's version of the Spice Girls, which are just supposed to be like fun, catchy songs.
right.
But to me, they're different because I feel like, and maybe it's just like more of an opinion than maybe it's a me problem more than anything else, but they just really rub me the wrong way in a
Yeah.
way that like Mariah Carey or like the Spice Girls didn't.
Well, I mean, those Mariah is again. Mariah was in a totally different category. Mariah could actually like sing her ass
Thing.
off.
Yeah, Mariah can actually sing.
And Mariah had some very soulful, like, you remember like when Mariah was young, she kind of like embraced her black side and like
Yeah.
she kind of like she was like on like a Whitney kind of like level as far as like she had very soulful music. She kind of got older and embraced the pop stuff more and whatnot.
Really,
But,
I thought it was the other way around.
What, that she got more soulful when she got older?
I thought that when she was young, when she was first starting out, and she was like directly being like supervised by Tommy Mottola, I thought that all her music was like very like poppy and like
name some songs.
Smooth and Vision of Love, Emotions, Someday.
No, those are soulful. Those songs kind of remind me of like Whitney Houston style songs.
Sure, but they were all very smooth and clean. And then I felt like as I got older, she started leaning more towards like a hip hop sound, like with Heartbreaker.
That's true.
And
yeah,
like,
but hip hop
Fantasy
doesn't
Remix
mean
and all that stuff, and that came like later in her career. Like she started to lean
wait,
more.
Heartbreaker and what else?
Like she did, like when she got, there was the song Fantasy, but then after
with the Old Dirty Bastard.
Yeah, she did the remix with that. So I feel like she started going a little bit more in that direction as she got older. That's just my opinion, though.
But
Well, I
feel
mean, she had some of those. That's true. She definitely had some of those. But I think after those, things started going pretty pop.
Okay.
I mean, maybe like I said, maybe it's a me problem, but like that.
Wait, Sam, just remember, Fantasy came out
In '95.
yeah, exactly. That's still a long time ago.
Right.
I mean,
That was the first version. Right. That was the first version. But then
that was like '95, I think.
That's what he said. Yeah.
I thought you said '99.
No, I said '95. But the Old Dirty Bastard version, didn't that come later?
I mean, remixes come out far. No,
Right.
remixes pretty much came out like to capitalize off of
All
the
right.
original sound.
That's cool. All right, I understand that. But even still, that was still after like Dream Lover and Emotions and, you know, Vision of Love. And like, so like those were like her earlier hits. And so to me, like that sounded more like, you know, I feel like that was more mainstream pop. And then like she started to lean more towards hip hop with like Heartbreaker with Jay-Z and stuff like that. And that
Yeah,
came-
but remember, hip hop is very mainstream music, though. That doesn't take away from the argument of that doesn't take away from your argument, right? It's like it's just one's with Tommy Mottola and it's more soulful, and one's with, you know, the biggest
Charlotte's got an opinion.
rappers
Oh, I see.
at,
So
at
do
the
you,
time.
out of curiosity, do you equate being soulful with being Black?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes
Okay.
and no. I mean, this has nothing to do with being Black. I don't understand. I mean, actually, I don't really understand. I don't understand the comment.
Well, because you said that, you know, earlier in her career she was embracing her like her Blackness, and that
Oh,
she's
yes,
more
yes.
soulful.
Yeah. Well, if you look at her.
So I was just asking you to elaborate on if you felt
No,
like
that's a good question. If you look at the way she looked, the way her hair was and everything, you know, it was like curlier and yeah, I mean later on, I don't know. Later on it was almost like I don't know if she did a lightning. I don't know if she did some skin lightening things or just was like straightening her hair, but there is a difference. There is a difference in look.
okay. Sure, that's true.
Yeah.
I never noticed her skin getting lighter.
No, I don't think it got
I don't think she
lighter.
ever- yeah, I don't think she
Yeah,
ever,
I could be equating just the whole look was very different.
I think it's the hair straightening.
But yeah, no, I guess in a sense I do. I mean, I definitely associate. I mean, soul. Yeah, I mean the word soul is definitely, you know, soul brother. I mean, it's definitely a black. It's definitely a black origin. I mean, soul music used to be called race music. I mean, there's definitely something there. I mean, some people do it differently. Like, what is it? I always forget these. I always forget these boy band names. So, who's the guy that had sexy? Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake actually became more soulful when he left his group. And like, I actually didn't know that he could sing that way. And he actually has an album that kind of is like almost like an homage to Michael Jackson. Like it's a Michael Jackson
which one, that Love Sounds?
I don't know his work
Is
enough
that the
to
one
name
with
it.
that back on it? Or you think the one with
Probably, it's definitely that era. Probably,
Okay.
it's definitely that era. But he kind of like went the other way and went from this like very cheesy pop, very like vapid, kind of easy to like sing along sounds with like some soulful kind of stuff, which is interesting.
But I think maybe it's like the proliferation of social media and whatnot that makes the difference for me. But I personally am like completely like over it, kind of with like the image that like it's not only the music, because there's always been vapid music that's been like
Well,
written
remember,
by the same two guys.
they're marketing it to 12 to 15-year-olds. That's the market.
I mean, you're right, but like I feel like it's giving unrealistic expectations to like 12 and 13-year-olds, because I feel like, yes, they're marketing to 12 and 13-year-olds, but they're marketing to 12 and 13-year-olds with privilege. Like, I don't seem like, for example, like when I taught in the Bronx, like when I taught middle school, like those kids were not listening to like, those kids were not obsessed with like Ariana or Taylor Swift.
No,
Like,
no, we don't. No, they're not listening to that. No.
So I think I just can't stand the image that they give off on social media of like,
Hey,
being rich and having their girl squad and all this luxury stuff. Like,
Well, what else do they know? I mean, that's that's cool to them.
that's cool to them, but like, it doesn't mean, like, what does that say about like the state of our, what does that say about the state of our country if that's what's popular? And I mean,
Look at the state of our country. Look at
exactly.
look at the enormous, wealth gaps.
Well, but that's how we ended up like with 45 in office too, was people's like obsession with like
Celebrity.
celebrity and ostentatiousness. It took me a minute to think of the word ostentatiousness, but people's obsession with like celebrity gaudiness is what got us in this mess in the first place.
Well, we were never supposed to. There was supposed to be a separation of escapism and what you listen to in the music and what you go to the movies and see and who you vote for. There was supposed to be a separation there. So
Well, they blended together.
Yeah, but I'm not going to blame Ariana Grande and whatever Taylor Swift for the state of our affairs. That's a stretch.
I mean, I'm not blaming them specifically for the state of our affairs. What I'm blaming is our culture's obsession with junk for what we have now in general.
Yeah. Well, people just are, I don't know. It's a weird country.
Yeah.
We just don't really, we just kind of, I don't know. It's like arrested. It's like a state of arrested development. It's like the popular kid in school who wins class president who has no substance. That's a popularity contest. That's like the race to the bottom, really. It's just like the
like
worst.
I legit feel like I live in idiocracy because like when I was in like 20 years ago, I feel like that you couldn't even use like the analogy of the popular kid winning the race for class president, because the kids that we elected to student government were popular, but they were also smart. Like people had no use for the vapid popular kids.
Do you remember how everybody was making fun of Dan Quayle because he spelled potato with an E? Don't you miss you miss those days?
Yep.
Wasn't that
sure
like when that was like?
Yep.
When that was considered like.
Now tell me if I'm wrong, but weren't we all making fun of Dan Quayle for that stuff? Whether it was like people on the left or the right, weren't we united in that?
I don't remember.
I wasn't old enough to make fun of Dan Quayle.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It just seems like now everything is so divided. Everything has to be politicized.
It's horrible. It's
like, oh, you want to wear a mask? That's so left wing.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Oh, you like calculus? Like everything is divided. Everything is political.
No, it's horrible, and it's tearing this country apart. And we have to find ways to like bridge the gap rather than like burn the bridge. But
well, I was having a conversation actually. Like, sorry, Sam, I didn't mean to cut you off. Finish.
You did.
Yeah.
Right off.
I did not mean it.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that. It's all good. But no, it's weird. I don't know. All of my mom's best friends are Trump supporters, and I don't know how this happened. Neither does she, really. But
how did she find them in the city?
No, she's been friends with them since high school and college.
Not friends from here.
But
well, don't forget the city. I mean, we've got Wall Street. I mean, there's lots of red in this city. I mean,
but most of it is in Staten Island.
No, that's not true. There's plenty of red in Brooklyn when you go out like to the outer borough.
Brighton Beach, places like that. But there's
plenty of that though. Like
but there's never been enough red in the city for like the city to actually vote for a Republican presidential candidate.
No, not as a candidate. No, not as a candidate. But it's just surprising when you actually notice how much red there is throughout the city.
But I think that like the city maybe is gerrymandered in such a way so that like the red is like kind of spread out
Right.
so that they don't win anything.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's yeah, but it's also like
There's pockets. There's some neighborhoods that are, or it's stuck like in some neighborhoods, you know.
well, yeah, but it's also like anything else, because you have, because contrary to the that's
Scarlett has an opinion.
Scarlett about everything. That's
Oh,
her
is that what that noise has been this whole time?
Yeah.
I thought someone at Kel's house was like banging pots and pans or something.
That's funny.
Like
No,
the kids were like,
no. I put her on the.
Damn kids.
She likes sitting on the windowsill these days, so I just
Okay.
I put her over there, and she paces back and forth. She finds
wait a minute, is she doing street harassment on the windowsill?
She used to whenever I lived in an apartment that faced the street. Now I face the back. So, but no.
Lisa's dad got street harassed by a bird.
Oh no, yeah, no. You could hear her out the front. Yeah, when she was facing the street, you could hear her out the front, and I can imagine some people might have been like, "What the hell is that?"
So how far away is she right now?
I'd say she's about like 9 feet away from me.
Wow,
Is she socially distanced from you?
she's loud.
She is loud. Yeah, she's got a big mouth for something so small. Yes, Emily, I know. I'm sorry. But what were we talking about?
What were you talking about? Your folks have.
Oh yeah, no, because
Your mom has
right,
Trump supporter friends.
right. Contrary to like this idea of people on the left, contrary to the idea of some people on the left, there are rich and even wealthy people who vote blue, and there are working class people who vote red. So
Well, I know
No,
there's
I think
working
we
class
all.
people
Yeah,
who
I
vote
think.
red. We know
Oh
that.
yeah, I think we're all. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're all
So
definitely.
it's kind of like a sprinkling. Honestly, I feel, in my humble guesstimate, I think a lot of which way you vote comes down to religion and values. So
Yeah, well, you know who figured that out pretty well was Mr. GB Jr.
yeah, and Ronald Reagan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What was it? He had
The Godfather of
right.
the Godfather of the
Yeah.
right.
Right. FDR had because FDR had what I think he had his fireside chats, and then Ronald Reagan had his what was it? I think his Sunday chats or something like that, which made the country feel good about itself again after a decade of of turmoil.
Be right back.
Okay. So yeah, I think it really depends on, everyone is different and everybody has their own. No one is shaped by. There's no one predictor of how you're going to vote, but you can usually find things in common when it comes to religious, how you feel about organized religion. That will usually be a good start indicator of where you think you might end.
You're right. Here's the thing. I could give you an example of that.
1 sec. I'm not going. 1 second. I'll be right there.
Okay. I'll be right back too, since everyone else is taking a break.
All right, I'm back whenever anyone's ready.
Sorry, I took the opportunity when everyone else stepped away
No worries.
to grab a glass of juice and change my shirt. But no, what I was saying is that, like, kind of an example that I have of that
Yes.
is that I fall very much on like the other. I fall very differently as far as like the topic of abortion
Mm-hmm.
from a lot of my family members
Mm-hmm.
because my whole family has been raised really religious
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so forth. But the funny thing about it is that while like they call themselves pro-choice, or they call themselves pro-life, excuse me, and I call myself pro-choice, we don't really have like opinions too different from each other, if that makes sense. Because but I think we're coming at it from different angles. Like I think for them, for like a lot of my family members, they interpret it as like, they interpret like giving people the privilege of abortion ostensibly, or not the, I don't want to say the privilege, because then that implies that it is a privilege, which it shouldn't be, but like that giving people the right to have an abortion means that people are just gonna like use it as birth control and go around like sleeping with everybody and like just having abortion, being like, oh, it's all right, I can have an abortion.
That's the right wing talking point. They call it abortion on demand.
Exactly. Yep. But like that's where a lot of like my relatives, but where I stand with that, I come at it from the other direction in that I'd like to try my, like, I've never had one, to throw it out on Front Street, being like the only female in the room.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had one. Like,
a penis?
No, an abortion. But that, and I don't want to have one, but I believe that it should be there, like, because I know the situation could come up where I would have to.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about here today, people? Hi, everybody.
You missed. I bitched for about 20 minutes about Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift and their stranglehold on the music industry.
About who has a stranglehold?
Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift and their stranglehold on the music industry.
I didn't notice it. I like Ariana Grande though. I think she can sing.
She can.
Some kind of.
I don't listen to her. I don't listen to her music or anything. I just, whenever I hear her, I don't even know any of her songs. Whenever I hear her singing, like on a show or what have you, I'm always impressed with her vocal ability.
I mean, I don't think that she can't sing, but I also don't think that like that her talent is being used to like the full.
Well, I actually, yeah, I agree. She's like Christina Aguilera in the beginning.
And I can't stand how like the industry pushes like this.
I don't think Taylor Swift is talented at all.
I
Yeah,
do.
and she's vapid.
No,
I-
let me take that back. I don't think she's vocally like skilled. I think she's a great creative mind though.
Yes, I agree. That's what I agree. I don't mind her music at all, actually.
But I just feel like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like every now and again there's been a Taylor Swift song that I'm okay with, but like
Party in the USA.
that's Miley Cyrus.
It's what?
Miley Cyrus.
Oh, okay. You
But
see, there you go.
I get aggravated because I feel like that I get aggravated because I feel like that artists like Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift just kind of like exude privilege, and it drives me nuts that that's like what's getting pushed out there.
Well, I mean, Taylor Swift is privileged to an extent. You know, she grew up like her dad is a banker, so she has, you know, she grew up very financially comfortable. So
I don't think Ariana Grande is. I think she just put in a lot of work for a lot of years.
yeah,
No, she's rich.
Well, clearly she's rich. Was she
Yeah.
born rich?
Yes.
Oh,
okay. But does that make her a bad person necessarily?
No, I don't think she's a bad person. In fact, like no, I don't think that she is at all. Like, I appreciate like some of the activism things that she's done as well. Like, she did go out and campaign for Bernie, for example.
So are you saying
Ariana
because
Grande
she's
did.
are you saying because she's rich, she doesn't deserve to be successful in music?
No, what I'm saying is that I think that like she's successful in music at the expense of people who weren't born on second base.
You gotta delve deeper into that, because I think that would be everyone in music.
Well, because I just feel like that, like, you know, her whole career she's been what the industry wants, and then when the people want something different, the industry still continues to push her.
Now, I would contend, without knowing much about her, being that she comes from a marginalized group, I'm sure she doesn't really fit the industry prototype. She's probably an exception.
What marginalized group does she come from?
Well, she's Latinx.
No, she's not. She's Italian, isn't she?
She's Latinx.
I always thought that she was full on Italian.
She's, from my understanding, from the Latinx community. You can Google it and correct me though.
Well, it's
I mean-
interesting. We don't even know.
Well, I thought I knew for sure actually, but I could be
She
wrong.
was born in Boca Raton, Florida. Rose to. I don't even know if this is. I mean, it just says she's an American singer, songwriter. Began her career in the Broadway musical 13, Nickelodeon television show.
I'm Googling it right now.
Everybody's Googling it.
Ariana, yeah. The short answer is no. Although Ariana Grande comes from Florida, a state that's 23% Hispanic, her background is 100% Italian.
Okay.
So she's not. So she's white.
But see, here's the interesting thing
Italian.
about that. Here's the interesting thing about that comment ish is like based on her last name, assuming that is like the thing about that kind of privilege is there are people who just pass anyway, and it's like even if she were Latinx, it doesn't mean that she can't like pass for like a white girl,
Yeah, but she doesn't look white to me.
Okay.
Actually, come to think of it, she doesn't look white to me either, although I don't really care. Like, that doesn't make
Right, yeah.
Sam, let me ask you a question. I mean, it's not relevant. I mean, it doesn't change. Doesn't change my opinion of a person either way. Like, I don't walk around saying like it's not like I walk around thinking, oh, like Ariana Grande looks Hispanic. But since you've probably seen him the most, Sam, let me ask you a question. Like, do you think that Misha looks Hispanic?
Do I think Misha looks Hispanic? Do I think he looks Hispanic?
That's kind of a loaded question though, right? Because like
It's a loaded
not
question.
all
Okay,
Hispanic,
we're talking about like whether or not we think people look a certain way. So
So how
but like
could
Hispanic people are white, they're black, they're mixed.
yeah,
You understand what I'm saying? Like there's,
well
if you go
yes, like they look all different types of way, but Hispanics can look white,
black,
Hispanics
they
can
can
look
be
black.
mixed. Well,
They can be
it's not even looks, right? It's that
somewhere in the middle.
there are black Hispanics, there are white Hispanics.
So
Right,
how
but
can we assume that Ariana Grande was Hispanic based on her looks?
Because
Yeah,
she looks like a mulatto Hispanic, a mixed Hispanic person.
Yeah, and Italians get mistaken.
Yeah.
Italians and other
that's
white
how
people get mistaken for Hispanic all the time.
but I didn't make the assumption that she was Hispanic based on her looks.
what did
Okay.
you make it based on?
Well, as I said before, I always understood that she was Hispanic. I forgot where I heard it. I recently, I don't really follow her. I recently became aware of her like a year ago because my niece was here and there was like a marathon of her on some stupid show
On
she was on.
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, some marathon. And at that point, it was my understanding. I don't know if I looked it up or something. I just, for some reason, was under the auspices, and not because how she looked, that she was Hispanic.
Or maybe that her
I just can't
maybe
remember
the
why.
name Grande sounds Hispanic.
Right.
And
I can't
Florida.
remember. I can't remember why. I didn't even know she was from Florida, but I definitely didn't base my conclusion on how she looked. I only mentioned how she looked because I was stating that she doesn't look white to me, which she just doesn't. She doesn't look like, just your typical Anglo-Saxon Protestant white, which doesn't include Italian.
yes,
It doesn't include, you know what I mean?
But
Say again.
she doesn't, but to me, like, that also doesn't mean that like, I just don't, I mean, I guess you could say she's from a marginalized group because she's a woman.
Well, if she's, I mean, we came to the conclusion that she's not because she's not Hispanic or Latinx.
But I guess she just, whether she was Hispanic or not, that's beside the issue. The issue is that she pushes a narrative of privilege.
Well, most entertainers do though, right?
I don't see that in the hip hop community though. I mean, like with the gaudy like gold chains and stuff, yes, but like
And the cars.
And
they're throwing money around in the videos.
That it becomes like, well, I feel like in the hip hop community, it's become this idea of, the genuine hip hop artists are the ones who grew up really poor or in the projects.
Exactly.
And then through their talent and hard work,
yes,
have became really rich and successful in their field, and
Absolutely.
now want that wealth with
Absolutely.
Yep.
That is
Sam is 100% on point.
That is one part of it, but they also rap about belligerently privileged things that they didn't do. Yes,
but what Sam is getting to is the origin story is different, right?
Yeah, but I understand the origin story is different, but if the conclusion is the same, it's still the same.
But I guess what I'm getting across is let's take the example I gave earlier was Nicki Minaj, who I actually don't really see throwing tons of money around and whatnot, but
I mean,
why is it
I was about to say.
Why is it? I mean, yes, but not to the degree of some of the male rappers.
I mean, she carries herself like a real housewife of Beverly Hills in all of her music videos.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen a ton of her music videos. I'll give it that. But I've only seen one or two of them, so I might not be the expert. You're right. I'll concede that.
Right. But have you heard a lot of her songs though?
But my point is that how did it take if she's really so popular and marketable, how did it take until this year for her to get a #1 song? And why did she have to claw against Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber for it?
Who's that?
Nicki Minaj,
Nicki Minaj has had plenty of hit songs though.
Yeah.
but she's never made the like top of the Billboard charts like until more recently.
But that's because isn't that because of people and how many people are listening to the song and requesting it?
Well,
That's
also,
my-
can I make a
That's
statement?
my point.
Can I
That's
make a
my
statement?
point.
The thing that you said about clawing against Ariana or all of that, I mean, she's never really been in the same conversation as Ariana. When you think about Nicki, it's always who's the woman from the Bronx?
Cardi
What's that?
B.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's always like against Cardi B.
And that's even more recently.
At one point, Little Kim, even though Little Kim's like old school, it's always against other women rappers. It's never been a pop conversation, right? It's like a genre.
And also women rappers who project overly cartoonish images. Like nobody's out there. Like it's do you know what I mean? Like I know I agree with what you're saying, Flavy. It's always like I feel like I am like that's who she's always compared to. Is like she's always like put up against is like Cardi B or like Little Kim, who would seem to be like an influence. But I never hear
Billboard Hot 100 is all genres here. So
But I never hear
Ariana.
anyone comparing like I never see but at least not in kind of conversations I've had. I've never heard Nicki Minaj brought up and then someone says like Lauryn Hill or Queen Latifah.
Well, you're going old school now, Sam.
Right,
You're showing your age.
And the
There's
problem
no
is
comparison there.
the problem in hip hop is, well, yeah, because honestly, if there's not a comparison, because Nicki Minaj is just a more successful rapper than Lauryn Hill. But the thing is,
picked herself out. Anyway, sorry.
Lauryn Hill had one album that was brilliant, but she had one album. The thing is,
She had another album.
yeah, it was no one knows it though. It's like real obscure.
Oh,
I mean, it wasn't
isn't
great.
that obscure?
It wasn't great at all.
Well, that's an opinion.
Well, yes, it's the
But I
majority
feel like
opinion.
We got a question here, like, why is like, say for example, like,
Well, hold on. Let me just the point I was trying to make was with female rappers though, they're always pitted against each other. Period.
Yes.
well, females in general are always pitted against each other. Period.
Yeah, but women rappers are
Especially in
definitely-
rap.
Yeah, in rap, it's definitely
No, that is very true. Like, however, that's not the point that I'm trying to make here. The point that I'm trying to make here is that there's a disconnect between the fact that people want to listen to and consume rap music, at least the people that I talk to, like, but yet you get like this poppy fluff that beats them on the charts because people are buying like freaking 400 copies of their album to
Well, it has a bigger
pump the
audience.
books.
That's the issue. Before you got on, she was complaining about these tricks that the music industry does, like buying 400 copies of the album and saying it was a conspiracy. I'm like, this is business. This
Like
is
what
not
Nicki Minaj and 6ix9ine did to get all those views on YouTube by buying views.
See?
They didn't buy views though.
They did.
How do you
They
know
bought
that?
views. It's a well publicized story. Nicki Minaj, when 6ix9ine got out of jail and he had all those hits on YouTube on his first video, and then on the one he did with Nicki Minaj, they bought views. They actually bought views.
But see, you guys can't tell me not to believe, or you guys can't tell me that like not to believe that Ariana Grande had her manager buy 400 albums.
Well, I wouldn't tell you that because I
Yeah,
wouldn't
when
doubt
did
it.
when did I tell you that?
I mean,
I just said it's not a conspiracy. I just said it's not a conspiracy. That's all I said. It's
not
business.
you personally. I'm
You know, I
saying
got you. I got you.
I'm saying the general you.
Right.
like-
No, I got you.
It's just
400 albums doesn't really put a dent in things.
But what
Yeah,
I
that's
said,
true.
but what I said is just as much of an opinion as it is the opinion of the people who wrote the article saying that 6ix9ine and Nicki Minaj were buying views. Like, does it occur to people that like maybe they actually have fans?
Yeah, but it wasn't an
yeah.
opinion. It was confirmed.
Well, yeah, and plus, like,
Confirmed by who though?
I'll tell you, it was confirmed though. They've been exposed. Not that anyone's mad. It's what
Yeah,
they did.
these are industry tactics. This is just nothing. This is nothing surprising. That's why it's not like. But to hear Ish say this doesn't like shock me and any more than year 400. I mean, the only thing that shocks me is the low number. Frankly, really, that's the only thing that's shocking. Is it's only 400. I mean, have you ever heard of payola?
Yes, but why would it make? Let's rewind here. To me, why would it make sense? And this is just me speaking objectively, not as a fan of any genre. Why would the music industry be moved to buy views for a 6ix9ine video, knowing how much everybody hates him? Like, why would they push that?
Because lots of people love him, and
Yeah, more
lots
people
of
love him than hate him.
Yeah, and the hate is only driving the sales. Like the hate is only bad publicity, good publicity. It's all the same. I mean,
Well,
it's not.
That's true. That's like the our current president's school of publicity. But
Well, he didn't make that up. I mean, that's.
but
old
here's
school.
my no. That's what I call it though. But my
Yeah.
point is that why would the industry, and I mean, this is a rhetorical. I'm going to preface this by saying this is a rhetorical question, but the industry's a bunch of effing hypocrites, because like why would they buy views? Why would they talk out one side of their mouth and buy views like on a 6ix9ine song, when out the other side of their mouth they refuse to give him radio play?
Well, you're acting like the industry is like a monolith, right? If anything, see, the people who are buying views would love to pay money to get him on the radio, right? Those are the same people. The people denying him, first of all, I didn't know that he's being denied on the radio, first of all, but I'll just take your word for it. The people denying him radio play are not the same people paying for him to get internet views or whatever.
So you think this is two different groups of people?
No, I don't think they are. Like the radio is who you go to with your money and you bribe them to put your artist on the radio. That's who you go to. You're a label, you have an artist, you want to get on the radio, you give them lots of money to play your artist. Some people actually go to radios with like guns and like threaten them to get certain
But what
artists.
I'm saying is they're really, and I'm not like, this is why it's so, and I don't mean to like sound like I'm arguing about it, because I don't mean to be like arguing about it, but this is why it's like that story is just so about buying YouTube views is just so hard for me to believe fully, because I feel like, well, why wouldn't the same people buying the YouTube views have gone to the radio and demanded that they stop the moratorium on his music?
Well, I mean, the radio's owned by a few big conglomerates, and maybe the internet is still.
Maybe they did try to go to the radio, and the radio said no.
Right? Yeah, definitely.
Because they didn't want to push specific morals, or because they have a moral agenda.
Right.
But leave them aside. Like, I mean, yes, I low-key am a fan, but leave the Bushwick rat aside here. Like, how does someone like Ariana Grande, or somebody who's been sanitized so much, end up on the top, as opposed to you know, some of the really, really gritty rappers out there, like a Pop Smoke or somebody like that?
Wait, I mean, you just said it yourself. Like, one of them has been groomed and sanitized, for radio play, and the other one is a street guy. That's
So
not.
what you're saying is I answered my own question, and that the industry won't promote, say, like, God love him, not don't speak ill of the dead, but that the industry won't promote Pop Smoke because of his gangster image per se.
No, because he's not market. He's not going to make them enough money. Like,
But he would. That's the thing. A lot of people like him.
a lot of people isn't the same as like. Listen, when I heard that Mobb Deep wasn't going platinum every time, my mind was blown, because like I listen to Mobb Deep, Ish listened to Mobb Deep, Katie listened, like everyone I knew listened to Mobb Deep, and I was like, wait a minute, these guys aren't going triple, quadruple platinum every time. What's going on? It seemed like very odd to me until like I gradually realized that they just didn't burst through a certain level of popularity, which was okay. They were still doing well, but even when they went with 50, they still didn't like go past that certain level. So then they had to leave 50 because now they're losing money. Now they're making the same amount of album sales, but now they got to give some of it to 50 because he owns the label, when they were doing it on their own. And I thought Mobb Deep was huge. So it's the same thing. Like Pop Smoke is like, you know him, but you know people like within your circle that know these kind of people. A lot of people don't. A lot of people just don't know who that is.
So I want to just really quick, I want to just give Emily that information about. So Trolls did 32.5 million views. However, in the first 24 hours, it was YouTube outed them. By the way, first 24 hours, it was listed as 46 million views because they did 46 million views, and then YouTube came out and pretty much outed them undercover by saying that it's actually 32.5 million views because we are no longer counting paid advertising views. And that's where they got the number that they paid. They paid for advertising views, which amounted to 14 million views.
Yikes.
Oh, okay, so see, I did know that. I misinterpreted what they meant by like paid advertising views, because when you say paid advertising views, what you mean is like that 6ix9ine and Nicki Minaj's label paid for like the video to pop up as a, hey,
Yes.
if you like this, you should click on this.
Yes. And now don't get me wrong, it was Nicki Minaj's fan base that ridiculously worked hard to get them up to 32 million views for sure.
And his too.
Yeah, but
Don't
really,
it was hers, but it was his.
yeah, but they did some underhanded stuff. They made up like fake accounts from academics, sending DMs out telling people he recommended it. Like they did a whole bunch of stuff. Like
I actually don't know if the DMs from academics would have been fake though. And
no, he said as much.
Oh,
he came out and was like, props to the Barbs. They really went hard like demons to get it over. He was like, they made up fake DMs from me. Like all of that.
I didn't hear that. The reason why I said I wonder if they were fake, like if the Barbs, if academics himself said that, obviously that's true. The reason why I thought they might not have been fake is because he's basically like friggin'
cool with 6ix9ine, but he's not cool with Nicki Minaj and the Barbs.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That would make sense. But I thought he would have been like, when you said that he might have been actually like doing it himself because he.
I don't even like talking about him on a show that's going to be on YouTube. To be honest.
Who, academics?
Yes.
Okay. Let's change
then that's another problem. Academics or the Bushwick Rat or both.
Oh, I don't care about talking about 6ix9ine.
But like, okay, no, I see. But the other one is like, a paid podcast just the same. So it's like giving free advertising to someone else. I get it. Anyways, my point is that I think that like, and maybe you're right that my view is like biased because I'm around like people who like even like the the kids that I teach, like I said earlier, they're more prone to like Pop Smoke than Ariana Grande. So it's what
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
exposed to. So
yeah.
maybe I don't see the biggest.
Yeah, you gotta understand you gotta understand that circle. I mean, trust me, your average Midwesterner does not know who Pop Smoke is. Like, think about
Yeah.
Ariana
Ariana
Grande's.
Grande is much more mainstream.
Ariana Grande's name is so big that, like, you know,
She looks better than Pop Smoke.
a dad pants wearing, like, 55-year-old Midwesterner knows that name. That guy does not know who the hell Pop Smoke is.
My mom would. I would know who Pop.
Her last name literally means big or tall. So just take that for what it is.
Well, I mean,
regardless of the
I wouldn't.
regardless of the language lesson, there, Sam. I mean, most people know. Most people know who Ariana Grande is. I mean, your mom sounds very cool. Like, you should take her out of it. She's not the average.
And
person.
also,
No, I said my mom.
Brass and Tax.
That's what I'm
Brass
saying.
and
Your mom
Tax.
is.
My mom's not that cool.
Well, she knows who Pop Smoke is.
No, my mom doesn't know who Pop Smoke is.
Okay.
She knows who Ariana Grande is.
Right. Okay.
But Brass and Tax, we're talking about marketability. Who's more marketable if you were, doing the marketing, right? Ariana Grande or Pop Smoke to the broadest audience?
Ariana Grande, but I think
that's what it comes down to, though.
But that's what brings out, like, my question is that my issue with it maybe is that I feel like that, like, the fact that Ariana Grande would be more marketable than Pop Smoke is like a symptom of implicit bias in itself.
Well, yeah, that's entertainment.
Because, like,
pretty people get hired.
It's not that, though, because the reason
I'm just speaking about how superficial entertainment is.
Well, yes, but what I'm saying is that it's not only about Ariana Grande being pretty, it's also about the fact that they're afraid that Joe Schmo in the Midwest is going to be scared of an artist like Pop Smoke.
Well, they're afraid that they're not going to pay for him. They're not going to buy him.
It depends on the era. It depends on the story. Look, 50 sold a shit ton of albums, and everyone knows who he is. And now he could go on USA Today and smile and wear a suit and charm the heck out of the interviewer for the whole 30, 60 minutes. And he's gone from a guy who got shot 9 times to someone who's making TV shows left and right.
And with all that said, he's probably still not going to get a large demographic to watch Power, a specific demographic.
Right.
And Mike's right, but you got to keep in mind, like, that's those same people that he can go rub elbows with probably aren't watching Power about the guy who came up from the hood and is gangster. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the same thing about how, like, there was something that came out a few years ago, like, with, like, James Comey wanted a picture with Method Man and Ghostface Killah when they were all going on Jimmy Fallon on the same night. And somebody brought up the irony, somebody, like, in the comment section of the picture, like, the picture was on Instagram, and somebody in the comments section brought up how ironic that Comey was trying to prosecute them 20 years ago, and now he wants a picture of them.
Shit.
Or with them.
Yeah.
But that's
I mean, if he was just doing his job, he was doing his job.
Well, that's a whole nother can of worms. If he was just doing his job, he was doing his job. But you could say that about any prosecutor. Like,
yeah.
You know who else was following orders? The Nazis.
I wasn't gonna go there.
We're talking about that's not even in the same ballpark. Like, a prosecutor's job is to prosecute.
I know.
Okay, but why are you gonna run up to people you prosecuted and take pictures with them? Like, isn't that kind of?
No, I don't think so at all. Because we're talking 20 years later.
All right. Well,
so people are at different places in life. Like, if you're not guilty, you're not guilty. 20 years from now, conversation.
Well,
this is
like, if I'm
prosecuted.
Not guilty. I mean, come on now. I mean, this is we're talking.
I think you're guilty. It's my job to prosecute you. If you're found not guilty, I don't have to walk around Like you're a criminal that got off. If you go on in life and become successful or do good things, I'm supposed to be like, you suck because I tried to prosecute you, or I had to prosecute you and actually put you in jail, and you got out and now you've redeemed yourself or whatever. I'm supposed to still treat you like the person I prosecuted.
I'm not even saying any of that, really. I'm not going that far with it. First of all, I don't know that it was a righteous. I don't know that it was a righteous cause that they were trying to get them on. For all I know, it was like the hip hop cops who are highly
Yeah, but I mean, we're not
problematic.
talking about the cops. We're talking about the prosecutor. It's not his
Right, who
place to
work
determine if
hand
it's
in
righteous or
hand,
not.
who work hand in hand with cops and cover up.
But it's
a
not
host
his
of
place
shady
to determine if
shit.
it's righteous or not. It's his job. Just like it's not the place of a criminal defense attorney to determine if my client. All I need to do is prove my client is innocent, even if I know he's guilty.
No, I got you. It just it's ironic.
But I think that was the purpose of the comment, was that it was ironic, but I think that like that speaks to like something interesting of like, what's the like
I mean, Frank Lucas became friends to the day he died with the cop who arrested him.
No, I mean that's a nice story, but DAs are often very shady and cover up a lot of shady shit that cops do.
Here's my point, though, as well. Like, where is the line between like somebody who came up from the streets and goes mainstream versus somebody who doesn't? Like, why would like 50 Cent or like the Wu-Tang Clan have become popular and not other artists who come from the same background? Like, why would the industry choose to push them and not other artists that come from the same background?
Well, the Wu-Tang Clan had RZA, who had an amazing vision and a business plan, was immensely talented, chose the most talented people from his surroundings. I mean, there's a whole
So
story
you
there.
think, well, yeah, I mean, I watched like the Hulu show and the documentaries. Like, I know the story behind the Wu-Tang Clan, but what you're saying is that like you think that like they became popular because of the reason that they're supposed to, because they're extremely talented.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but there's always other things like luck,
Right, because it's
which get
not
thrown
just
in the
talent.
mix. Yeah, there are other things like, well, it's not just talent, it's working your ass off, it's believing in yourself, it's striking while the iron is hot, it's having a certain type of music that really was like coming into immense popularity at that particular time. It's being separated from the rest of New York by the body of water or the island.
By the Staten Island Ferry.
I mean, what you're really doing, Emily, is asking for an explanation for every artist in any genre of music who doesn't make it versus those who do.
Yeah, but I mean, luck has something to do with it. I mean, reception has. I mean, look at Jay-Z. Jay-Z got rejected by every record label he tried to pitch himself to, so he created his own label. Right? So, like, here's a person who was so convinced in his own talent that he was like, "Fuck that, I'm going to do it myself." Right? That took a lot of, a lot of belief and gusto and stick-to-itiveness. And
I mean, think about it. Jay-Z at first listen, right? He doesn't have a dynamic voice. He's a genius rapper. But imagine Jay-Z 25 years ago walking into a label trying to get on. They're gonna be like, "There's nothing about you.
Probably laughed at him.
You're non-diminutive. There's no X factor." Like, I could hear somebody saying these things to him. You know what I mean? Not realizing what they're passing up because of how much of a genius he is creatively and lyrically. His voice isn't dynamic, but who doesn't like a Jay-Z song? Most people like 50 Jay-Z songs. You understand what I'm saying? But back then, I mean, this is the guy who was, in Hawaii and Sophie as backup.
Well, and he was also he was coming up in a time when he had Nas, Mobb Deep,
Yep.
Biggie, and all these people who, to me, were amazing. I mean, I remember how I felt when I first heard Jay-Z. I was not impressed.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Me neither.
And I remember these kids that were always coming around singing his lyrics, and I was like, that's not really a dope lyric to me. Money Machining, that's not really, that's kind of like simple to me, you know?
But here's my thing kind of about it, and like maybe it's just like, you know, me having like, you do have a point that like we'd be here, honestly we'd be here all night if like there was an explanation, if I was like ostensibly requesting an explanation for why every individual artist is successful and others aren't, and that is, yes, ostensibly what it does sound like that I'm doing. But I mean, the bottom line is, I guess I don't know what it is, but like I don't like it. Like that, like let me put it straight out there. I don't like that what the industry is pushing right now is like young, skinny white women of privilege. I don't like it. It bothers me. It rubs me the wrong way.
No, I
You
mean,
keep saying of privilege.
What did you say?
You keep saying of privilege.
Like when I
the
say
kids who were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, who like, you know, who
Yeah, but we're
like
talking
are-
about two.
I mean, yes, but it's just an image that's being pushed, I feel like, and it, with those two, and it bothers me.
But it's two. They're like a minority.
well, I'm
It's
sure,
like saying,
I'm sure
well,
we can come up with,
They're a very
a bunch of
loud
other ones.
majority. They're a very
Every
loud minority.
it could be every, you know, kid who came up through Disney who wants to get on, whether it's Miley or whether it's whoever, right? I'm sure
Zendaya.
I'm sure she picked those two, but you know, I'm sure there's plenty.
Well, I picked those two because they're the most prominent right now, but it's like, it's just that general formula. I mean, like it applied like even to Britney Spears.
Yeah,
back in
she
the
was
day.
a Disney kid, right?
Yeah, like it just like.
So then you'd
Why
have
are
to.
we pushing skinny white women who
Yeah,
can't sing?
but then you're excluding all the people that came from Disney and just specifically focusing on the white ones.
Well, who else came from Disney?
Zendaya, Raven Simone. Disney.
Yeah, but
I mean,
Raven Simone never had a singing career, did she?
She
Yeah,
had
she
a
did.
singing career and an acting career, and she had a hit album when she was part of Cheetah Girls.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know who that is.
Aguilera.
What's that?
Aguilera.
What?
No,
Aguilera was a cheater?
Yeah, Christina Aguilera was a Disney kid.
But I didn't like Raven Simone as a singer either. I liked her as an actress. I did not like her as a singer.
Yeah, but
Like-
we're talking about people who were pushed at some level. You're saying privileged, and
Yeah,
you
but-
included Disney kids, and like Zendaya is an it girl.
Yeah, but I don't know. What I'm saying is that she doesn't rub me the wrong way.
She's not white
nearly to the degree that Ariana and
because she's not white.
Ariana Grande does.
The
And
only
they-
difference is that she's not white.
That can't be the only difference, is because she doesn't come off the same way.
She
Well,
doesn't
no,
come
we're
off
talking
as
about
snotty.
pushed for privilege, right?
Yeah, but she's talking about like these like rich kids who like come off like, you know, like snotty and rich.
I guess it's
Yeah.
subjective because I don't think that Ariana Grande comes off that way any more than any rich entertainer does.
I mean,
Me personally, like she doesn't. I didn't even know that she grew up rich until this conversation.
here's the thing. I don't know. I see it. Maybe I see like. Maybe I see the way that like. Maybe you're right. Maybe it does have something. Maybe ultimately, like, their show of privilege isn't any different than like a Nicki Minaj and her Birkin bags or whatever. But I see it that way, and maybe it's
But
like
it's different. It's different when the money's new. It's different when the money's newer to you, and you acquired it from like, from your success. You totally come off a different way from a kid who like was born into it and that's all he knew.
Well, see, I don't see that with Ariana Grande. I don't see the difference you're describing, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm just, I'm just
mean,
adding to the
it could be
combo.
like-
That wasn't my argument, so I don't really know. I don't really have a.
It could be something as simple, and I mean, like, it's not. I wouldn't even call it an argument because.
Well, you notice I'm not mentioning Taylor Swift because I haven't really paid attention to her. So for all I know, she could come off as, snobby and what have you. But Ariana, I haven't, that's someone I've paid attention to recently. And I didn't get that.
But I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that I don't know if I would really call it like an argument even so much as a discussion. Because
Yeah.
there's nothing really factual. Like, that. I have to admit, there's nothing really factual about like about what I'm saying. Like, it's just like a person, like it's an emotional thing. Like, it's an emotional gut feeling that they rub
I mean,
me
you have
the
a
wrong
lot of
way.
people, in the entertainment business that came up the way that you were describing. A lot of people, right? That, and many of them they're not all white. Like,
I mean,
we've actually,
no, but here's the thing, like, Zendaya doesn't rub me the wrong way like Ariana Grande does. Like, Raven Simone does not rub me the wrong way the same way that Ariana Grande does. Miley Cyrus doesn't even rub me the wrong way the way Ariana Grande does.
mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's just like some kind of like
beef with Ariana Grande.
Well, it's
And
some
Taylor Swift.
Well, no, I think what it is like that. I think it has much less to do with the fact that they're white, and much more to do with the fact that they give that. Like, I think it actually has much more to do with like them being women. Like, as odd as that may sound, like, I think it, and not like, and that sounds even funnier because it's an issue of like, that sounds even funnier because it makes it sound like, well, then if you dislike them because they're women, then you shouldn't be liking any female artist, which couldn't be further from the truth. But it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's like, and I don't think that I should be one to judge, because at the end of the day, like, it's not like I know these people personally, but they just push me the wrong way. Like, that they remind me of like really catty women that can't be trusted, the ones that'll like act like they're your best friend and stab you in the back.
Well, I mean, these are images that were concocted by the industry, right? So you might be feeling a sense of, something that's been formulated, right? Some formulaic thing that just doesn't feel, I don't know, organic maybe.
I think you're on to something there, like, that I feel like that they're fake. Whereas, like, a Pop Smoke, or even like, God forbid, like a 6ix9ine is real.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah, stop that.
All of these people are fake. There's a certain amount of artifice
Yes.
that goes into all of this, because the whole idea of creating a pop star, and the reason why pop stars succeeded movie stars, is because they created this idea. They created this. Okay, acting is about a role, playing a role. Being a pop star and a successful musician, successful pop star, rock star, whatever, is about creating an image. And that image. The image is that you are singing about your own personal experiences, and that you're bearing a little bit of your soul to the world.
I mean, there used to be unwritten rules, right? Like, you didn't say you were dating anyone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, all because of your image.
So basically, this idea that Pop Smoke is somehow more real than Taylor Swift I mean, maybe because Pop Smoke was talking about grittier subjects, but Taylor Swift is like ostensibly singing about like her own relationships that she's had. So while she may come from more money, that doesn't mean that the experiences that she's had are not valid, that they're not real. And here's the thing, I don't really believe that half the stuff she's singing about is true, because in order for me to do that, she would have had to have already dated like 30 guys. Maybe she has, I don't know. But what I think the thing is though, is that she has crafted this image of like, she writes these like songs that are very gentle in nature about like, hopes and dreams about like finding the right person. So while that may seem a little banal, she does it better than most people out there right now. So,
but I guess maybe it's to me like because it seems because like what Taylor Swift is singing about, it seems like the website White Wines to me.
Wait, I want to throw a monkey wrench into this conversation. You know who got really popular when they started singing a lot? Oh, we might have crossed this bridge already. Is Ja Rule. You know, like
crossed that bridge last week.
Last week, well, we're crossing it again. I mean, you know what America really loved and bought lots and lots of their albums was Ja Rule. The more and more he sang, right? And like so much so that like it was turned against him. Like he sold out because he made his music so soft and fluffy that it was like easy to sell, easy on the ear, but in the end it was just like, what are we doing? There's like no, it was like the antithesis of what it was supposed to be, but he became pop. He became a pop star. And that's what pop stars do. They sell
image.
Yes, it's a lot of it's about image, but like but I guess when I say real, like more real versus being fake, look, they're all putting forth an image. Like we've been through this multiple times. Like how many, on the flip side, how many rappers actually practice what they preach? And
well, to me, Ja Rule wasn't an image. It was just melody. He just sold melodies.
But what I'm saying here is that, but he was still an image. Any artist markets themselves as an image. Like what Sam was saying, like Pop Smoke was an image, was a gangster image just as much as Ariana Grande is like the whole marketed to be the wholesome Disney girl image, or like what backfired tremendously, like 6ix9ine trying to push the gangster image to sell records.
So
which is why when you said 6ix9ine was real, I'm like, stop it.
Okay, so to put you on the hot seat for a second, to make you formulate to make you defend your own argument, Pop Smoke versus 6ix9ine, what's the difference? Because one of them was immensely known and successful, and the other one was not so much, and they both were in the same, relative genre of music, like gangster music.
Yes,
so,
but here's the difference there. Pop Smoke was like the same old as far as gangster rap. Like he was the image of what that genre.
So let me just add a little bit of spice to this, and then let you get back to it. 6ix9ine wasn't gangster rap at all.
No, but he thought he was. That was the problem.
So what was he?
Screaming, yelling. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know how you categorize it. It was different. It wasn't gangster rap.
But that's what I was gonna say. Like an artist like Pop Smoke, who I think if one listens to his tracks, like he is unique for the genre, but he doesn't put forth the image of, or didn't. R.I.P. Didn't put.
Well,
forth,
he didn't have the platform.
he didn't have the platform, but he also like appeared visually like the same as any other old rapper, whereas like people were more like intrigued by like a 6ix9ine because they're like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? Like, why has he got like this, that, and the other strange appearance and doing all
Okay.
this outlandish, outrageous things?
Yeah,
That's
6ix9ine was
why
much more creative.
he's much more creative, but
Well, much more outlandish, should we say?
outlandish, yes.
Well, yeah, but it was all in. I mean, he had reasons for everything he did, and
Well,
they were creative reasons. Like if you
but
ever
that's
listen to the story behind his hair and why he had the 6ix9ine, like everything he did was for a reason.
no, I've like, I don't doubt that it was a carefully curated image.
Wait,
I'm not-
creative as in creative or creative as in marketing?
No, like he came up with the rainbow hair before he was big.
Okay.
Most
what
of
I mean?
his marketing tactics were come up with by him,
Yeah,
not by
yeah,
the
absolutely.
industry. Like
Okay.
the kid, he's got a lot of other fucking problems, but the kid is
Yeah,
a marketing
he had
genius.
already been viral online long before he was 6ix9ine for like pedigree, Triple H pedigree videos that he did in like 2013 that went viral. Like
What are
he was,
those? What are
the
pedigree?
pedigree, the finishing move that Triple H does in wrestling.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No,
Yeah,
he was already going viral.
yeah, he
like
was.
back when he was in Bushwick working at the deli.
Yeah, he was a little creative genius. That's not
Okay.
that just can't be denied. You know what I mean? He was very creative, very very artistic way of thinking.
But the point is,
He had low level following for like grunge rock music in like Japan.
Okay.
but like I don't think I've expressed fully like the point that I've been trying to get to out of all this is that I want to address back what Sam was saying about like Taylor Swift's, like how is like Pop Smoke rapping about the streets any more real than Taylor Swift singing about like the emotional pain from her relationships? And I'll tell you, I think what it is that pushes me the wrong way about her singing about her emotional pain from her relationships is that it is a problem. It's a first world problem. It's a problem of privilege. And I'm like sick. And I think like artists
Wait,
that
what?
rub me Taylor Swift singing about her failed relationships is a first world problem. Like she's singing about things that might be real to her, but in the grand scheme of things, they're not real problems. And that's what rubs me the wrong way.
Like angst.
Yes, they are, though. Yes, they are.
But that's like all of R&B.
They are, yeah, exactly. They are real problems.
Yeah.
What did you say? That's like all of R&B?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are real.
Why should we care about a rich girl's failed relationship? I'm sorry.
Yeah, but see, that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. That I think is kind of wrong. Is that you're diminishing the fact that that someone's failed relationship isn't a problem because they're rich.
Yeah, rich people. I'm sorry, rich people have feelings too.
Yeah.
Seriously, I will tell you though.
We're gonna find out how much money Sam has by the end of this episode.
If you want to have, but no, seriously, if you want to talk about that, I'll tell you somebody who does exactly what you're describing, and that does bother me. That's Lily Allen. Okay, I remember Lily Allen had one song on her first album, in which like the entire content of the song was that she was complaining about how long it was taking for her to get into a club when she felt like she should have just like skipped through the line. That is a problem of privilege.
Well, maybe that's how their music comes off to her, is like some young woman trying to get into a club. Like, who cares? And
yeah,
like,
but she said specifically, a rich girl's failed relationship is a first world problem. It's not a real issue.
Here's my problem. It's not our problem. Like, she has the money. She should pay a shrink for that. I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah, but so does Mary J. Blige.
It's not solving any societal problem.
But Mary J. Blige has the money.
The difference is Mary J. Blige makes you feel her pain.
But
And
Mary
she's
J.
been through
Blige
some
isn't
real, she's
solving
been
and
through
any-
some real shit.
well,
Mary J. Blige
feeling
is
someone's
not
pain is
solving any
subject.
societal problem either.
Wait a minute, Mike. Feeling someone's pain in a song is subjective to the subscriber. One and
So you
two.
feel,
And hold on, and then you can retort. And two, when you say she's been through some real stuff, you can't discount what someone else has been through because you believe Mary J went through it.
Yeah, but why do I believe one and not the other? It's the
Because of
singer's responsibility to make you believe them.
hold on,
That's
but
soul
what you're
music
talking
is.
about, but what you're talking about is something intangible because you like Mary J. Blige and you're not. Again, feeling someone's pain is subjective to the subscriber. I
Yeah,
may
it's all
feel
subjective.
Ariana Grande, so that's what I'm getting at. So because
it's all
subjective, how can you just discount one?
Because that's what
Because
subjectivity is. That's
well, hold
exactly
on.
the definition
Yeah, but
of
Mike,
subjectivity.
Mike, you're missing the context here. If we're talking about singers and the subject matter is the same, then if it's all subjectivity, right, then you would have to concede that there are people who feel Ariana Grande or Taylor Swift singing on that subject matter where you don't.
I mean, I don't get your point.
Well, you're the one who made a contrast. You're the one who said, well, yeah, because Mary J made me feel it, and she sang about some real stuff, as if to say Taylor Swift singing about the same thing isn't real.
I didn't say that they sang about the same thing. I never conceded that.
That's hold on. You are you like purposefully redirecting? The whole point of this was you were defending Emily's position because
Right.
Emily said a rich girl singing about her relationship is not a problem. And
Right,
then
and
I said, hold
feels.
on. And then I'm not saying that she doesn't have a way of feeling that. Then I said, I mentioned Mary J. Blige.
Right.
Does the same thing. And you then made a difference between Mary J. Blige and Taylor Swift. And if you didn't, then what are we talking about?
Mary J. Blige makes you feel it.
Yes, but that doesn't discount that Taylor Swift doesn't make other people feel it and that her situation is less real.
But here's
to Emily, obviously she doesn't make Emily feel it, and she doesn't make me feel it.
No, it's not only about that. No, I feel like people are missing the point completely. Like, I feel like that's a useless comparison to make as Taylor Swift and Mary J. Blige, because what really bothers me is the fact that there's a difference between people singing about me problems and everybody problems.
Okay.
So now you're moving the goalpost a little bit.
But no, I'm not, because
You're just explaining it better.
I'm not moving the goalpost. I'm explaining that
That's
when
what
you hear a lot of
it's
hip hop,
anonymous to me.
She's just explaining it better than she was.
when you hear a lot of hip hop music,
That's what I would say if I were moving the goalpost. Anyway, go on.
I'm not moving the goalpost. This is how I felt the whole way through. But what I'm saying is that what I'm saying is that it's a difference between a me problem and an everybody problem. And Mary J. Blige still falls on, and no, it's not really, although I may have said it was at first, it was because I hadn't really fully thought it through, maybe to articulate it, which is why I say that I'm not moving the goalpost. But what I think it is that I feel like, a lot of hip hop, you look at or listen to, I guess as the case may be, a Tupac, Biggie, a lot of current rappers, minus the ones who are always rapping about their wealth. I would actually feign to include those with the Taylor Swift people. But what bothers me is that it's just the idea of blatantly singing about your failed relationships, because that does nothing to advance society. It's the same thing as how I get annoyed with literary people who spend too much time on literary criticism, because sitting around in a room talking about it ain't changing nothing.
So I have a couple things I just want to say real quick, and then I'm going to give you the floor back. I want you to one, you haven't explained to me what you mean by difference between a me problem and a you problem. Two, the purpose of entertainment isn't to make a difference and to like fix or resolve problems in society. Like that's
It
just
isn't, but I personally reserve the right not to support anything that like not to support things that I don't feel do that. Like,
but you supported 6ix9ine. But that's neither here nor there. And three, how does then that make the comparison between Taylor Swift and Mary J. Blige useless? Like
because,
those. But let's start with the whole
fall into
difference
the same category.
between a
me
me and an
problem
everybody thing.
The me problem is when you're singing or rapping about, for that matter, about your personal experience. Like the you problem, like the general problem, is when you're singing or rapping about something that's a group experience, like a struggle that a group of people have had to go through. Like, and I feel like that, like Taylor Swift and Mary J. Blige fall into the same category there, because they're singing about, like, for lack of a better term.
Now I have to backtrack and remind you that when I said that, you said it was a useless comparison.
Well, I said it was a useless comparison because there's nothing to compare. Like, they're the same thing.
What?
They both fall into the singing about personal problems category.
Okay.
That's what I mean. That it's a useless comparison for these purposes because they both fall into like
Wait, so who doesn't sing about personal problems?
That's like? What I was gonna say. Like creativity is usually drawn on personal experience.
Yeah, who do you like that doesn't? Because now I'm starting to be like ish. Like R&B is like rhythm and blues, country. That's all about your personal problems.
Yeah, but I don't like R&B either.
Oh damn! All right, I'm about to stop recording now.
Like, listen, that's why I'm like, and not a knock on you because I love you, EMZ. I'm sitting here like, you're not defending this position very well. Like the end zone is wide open, man, and they're just they're just scoring after touchdown after touchdown.
And I mean, that's a personal preference. That like,
there you go.
What's your genre? Is it hip hop?
Hip hop, rock, grunge, alternative.
Okay. And you feel like, so what are the universal themes, or what are the you problems expressed in hip hop, rock, and grunge as opposed to R&B?
Well, like take Tupac's Changes, for example, or like Brenda's Got a Baby, like
Okay, you're all right. I mean, you're talking Tupac was
those are everybody's problems, not his problems.
Oh, but what about Me Against the World?
Well, Me Against the World is a metaphor, though, for like the Black community.
Oh, this is what we're doing now, huh? The me is short for metaphor. I see what you did there.
Yeah, I gotta wonder. And also I also bring up how is mourning a fail? Now, granted, when people, I do understand to a certain extent why Emily might say, oh, after a certain point, why are you whining about this? Get a shrink, because I feel sometimes occasionally feel that way about a band like The Cure. It's just like, why are you still whining that nobody understands you? You have money now after like 8 albums. However, I would also like to point out, since when are failed relationships and the struggle to make them work not everybody problems? I would also like to share that in.
And I would also like to add to Sam's real quick that a lot of times putting things in a song or a poem or writing it's therapy.
Ooh.
But here's, I guess, like, so let's rewind for a little bit. totally unrelated, but not really. Let's rewind for a bit. Music aside for now, I think that like unpacking like deep feelings about this has kind of like made me to think about my own thoughts of like what is creativity supposed to be, or what is like the line between a me problem and a you problem. And I think like, and like you said, yes, like creativity, like many of you guys said, like creativity and artistry is like an outlet for people. And maybe like in the case of like a Taylor Swift or something like that, like that it's just like, you know, that's her outlet to complain about her failed, that's her outlet to like heal from her failed relationship, is to write songs about it. And yes, such a thing does exist out there actually, as like music therapy for PTSD patients and what have you. But I think, well, like that being aside, like I think the reason why I tend not to like pop or R&B music as much, like, and I think this is what everybody has been trying to push me to the entire way, that it's taken like an hour to get to, is that yes, I'll say it flat out, it is a matter of personal preference, like, and sometimes like, and like other people's right to like a certain type of music is just the same as like other people's rights to like Taylor Swift is just as valid as my right to like
6ix9ine.
to like 6ix9ine. But thank you. But or other people's right to like Ariana Grande is just as much as my right to like Pop Smoke. But I think that like that's just a matter of personal preference, and I feel like that's what like you guys have been trying to push me towards thinking or
different
realizing.
things move different people.
Different for different, but I wasn't done. The point is that like the point is here is that like I think that brings up a deeper seated issue in which I start to think about like, you know, why I said like it's a me problem, it's a them problem, not an everybody problem, go call a shrink or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like what I said about Taylor Swift versus what you said about The Cure. And I think it's because like I personally feel like that I've been raised like in a society where it's considered, where you don't show it when something's wrong. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I've been raised in like that there's a societal expectation of stoicism, that you're expected to like act happy and pretend nothing's wrong when it is. And to be honest, like I'm the kind of person who like never ever very rarely tells people when I'm upset, simply because like out of like a guilty feeling about it, like that, like, you know, I never like a guilty feeling about it, like that I feel like it isn't other people's problems, that it isn't other people's problem to deal with my problems. So
Emily, I just want to tell you something really quick.
What?
I just want to tell you something really quick.
What?
I just want to tell you something really quick.
Go ahead. I said
You're every woman. It's all in you.
Oh boy.
oh God. But I mean, I think the point is that like I feel like whether this is the societal norm or whether this is just the way that like I personally was raised, like I feel like it was always banged into my head that it's like that it's an imposition on other people to tell them your problems, or to say I'm not all right. And I feel like because like, and I feel like that's even spanned over like to the sense like that I personally, like, sometimes I don't even tell Misha when something's wrong because
That's why we have entertainers to do it for us.
But so you're saying that's what their role in society is
To entertain.
to entertain? I mean, but the point is that like how bad is it when we're in a society where like the average person feels like that they're a burden to other people when they speak about something that is a me problem instead of a societal problem?
Well, I don't know if that's the thought process of the average person.
What do you mean? Like, elaborate. What do you mean by that?
I don't know that the average thought process is that people walk around just carrying feelings that are pent up because they don't want to unload, or I don't know that that's just the thing that the average person does or not. I mean, we have entire fields of study dedicated to it.
I don't think it is, but for whatever reason, like, I personally have gotten it in my head that it's a burden to like, or an interruption to interrupt people with something that like
Well, I was just speaking to what you
I'm
said
having a problem with.
about the average person. That's the only reason why.
Emily, it's not a burden. Your feelings matter. So yeah, that your feelings matter, particularly if somebody says something, if someone says something that does upset you, then you should express it. You should be careful, you should be careful not to like explode or curse at the person. But if somebody says something that upset you, you should feel free to express that it hurts your feelings, because your feelings do matter. And I would like to add on top of that, it doesn't even have to be just because somebody said something that upset you. If you're upset about something, and you have friends and family who care about you, you are allowed to, if those people truly care about you, they should be, I just had, right before we got on, I just talked to Rob for like an hour, and I had things on my mind that were bothering me, and I had to express, and I felt I needed to express them to him. He hadn't done anything wrong, but I was upset about stuff, and I wanted him to talk about it, and he let me talk about it. So
You were upset about stuff that was completely unrelated to him, or you got mad at him?
Yes, completely unrelated to him. Things that have been on my mind that and they they're like, when you don't get them out, sometimes like writing them down on a piece of paper is great, but it doesn't always do the trick. Sometimes you need to talk to
But it's like, I feel like that, like, it's interrupting somebody else's day when they have stuff to do. Like,
well, if they feel that way about you, that's not a person you want around in your life. And furthermore, it should be a relationship where you feel comfortable unburdening yourself with them, and that they also feel comfortable that they can do the same to you when they need it. Like, that's the whole point. It's not, your feelings are not a burden.
It's one of those things where like I kind of feel sometimes like that I have like, that if I'm upset about something, like that I can't say it because like when everybody else is like laughing and jovial, because like I feel like, I just killed the whole thing. I just killed the vibe. Like,
yeah, I know that's how you feel sometimes.
Like that's kind of like, I don't want to, never mind.
No. You're in a friendly audience. We all care about you. You can speak.
No.
Well, I kind of know what she's alluding to that she doesn't want to go into.
Okay.
The situation from the other day.
Yep.
I felt like I got upset and screwed everything up.
Oh, with the Cynthia thing?
Well, I was trying not to say her name because it's not fair to talk about people when they're not here, but yes.
Okay, well, that's true. I'm not going to say anything else about her. But but however, as it turns out, you didn't ruin everything at all.
Yeah, I thought you were doing too much, but I told you as much.
Yeah.
But you'll tell me if I'm doing too much. That's
Yeah.
the thing. You don't got a problem with that? Like, other people won't, and then they'll bitch about it later behind your back.
You also know that I'm not like this.
I didn't mean you specifically.
I know that. I
or
know that.
anybody on this call.
I know that. I know that.
No,
Well,
I didn't have a problem with it. I was
I
kind of.
know, but like you'll say like, you know, you don't got a problem saying like, Emily, you're being fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think you're being ridiculous. I just didn't think that the conclusion you came to was even remotely
But
close.
I came to the wrong conclusion.
Yeah.
I came to a faulty conclusion from the situation. But I think like but I think you're 100% right about that. Like, I think that I did come to a faulty conclusion from the situation because I had personally felt that, like, you know, I had personally, like, and because I think it stems from, like, the whole thing of, like, not feeling like I should ever express any form of negativity, like, in a public sphere, whether it be, like, a group chat or a Zoom or, like, or a meeting at work, or like whether it be like, you know, even sometimes to Misha, like I just feel like, or whether it be like anger or being sad or whatever, like I feel like it's like I feel embarrassed about negative emotion, and I think that that's why I kind of jumped to that conclusion with that whole situation where wherein that you had to tell me like, Emily, you're doing too much. Because I felt like guilty about expressing negative emotion.
Listen, not everybody's going to agree with everybody. And that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, that's okay. Not everybody has to share everyone's opinions and, you know, listen.
Well, it would be a boring place if everyone shared everybody's opinions.
My sentiments exactly. My sentiments exactly.
But I think, like, you know, for lack of a better term, as much as I like bitched and moaned earlier, like about like this is a you problem, this is a me problem versus like a society problem.
Are you about to tell us you came up with a song?
No, I wish. I'm not that smart, but I think like that it's more, that's an issue of like, well, this personally is a me problem. Like that, like I don't like, how do I, like, it is a me problem that I don't feel comfortable expressing any kind of negative emotion or telling my, or complaining to people because I feel like I'm being burdensome or confrontational or whatever else. You know what I mean? Like that is a me problem. And
Well, just so you know, 0.00000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000
well, I don't give a crap who watch, like, I don't give a crap about people watching because if they feel negative energy, they can just turn the freaking thing off.
No, there's going to be so many people out there that are going to be like, oh my God, I feel her.
Like,
Yeah, there are. Yes, there will be. You'll see.
I won't see anything. I'm not, if people are watching from their houses, they're not leaving their houses, I won't see them because of quarantine. But the point is that, like, I just feel like that there is like, I don't know, maybe this is like a deep thought of the day or something, But some days I feel like if we want to talk about, like, you know, Taylor Swift being an act of marketing, for example, or we want to talk about like Ariana Grande being like, you know, a character, or if we want to talk about like any other famous person being a character, like that's not limited to famous people. Like we're all expected to play characters like in our everyday lives. You know what I mean? Yes, Misha, I get it. It's different when you're under constant scrutiny. But
Go ahead, Misha. Get him a mic. Get him a mic.
Hi,
I'm
Misha.
washing the dishes. But I think that it's like, yes, but I think it is like a societal issue sometimes. And maybe it's just another me problem. Like, but I feel like that, like, we're almost
People are
like
singularly
conditioned to
motivated,
not.
right? The world is filled with people with me problems.
Well, yes, the world is full of people with me problems because if me didn't have a problem, there would be no me. But
Yep.
I think that like people people are very prone to like I think but I feel like people are prone to like not to feel like it's not okay to express their me problems to the outside world. Like the people are programmed to think that like they're supposed to be happy all the time. Like, why else would there be such a market for antidepressants? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or we're all supposed to try to put in the work to make our lives so successful that we never have anything to complain about. Of course, if that were true and people felt that the only worthwhile songs were songs about addressing, you know, political blights and extreme conditions, nobody would make music anymore.
This is
Well-
the way you left me. I'm not pretending.
But
No
even
hope,
like,
no
you know,
love, no
like you do
glory,
have a point
no
of like,
happy ending.
Is
Sorry.
singing again?
you do have a point though that even like, you know, Alanis Morissette, who I love, sings about me problems all the time.
Yeah.
And she sings her pain.
Yep.
She sings that Uncle Joey from Full House dumped her.
Yep.
I mean,
No,
Well, this became an interesting discussion on entire genres of music that we like more than others at one point.
with some deep psychological
no, you missed the deep-seated psychological pain.
Because the
Yeah, we
love
just-
that we gave, that you made, wasn't able to make it enough for you.
I like when she says, you know how us Catholic schoolgirls can be.
Yeah.
We make up for so much time. My brothers, they never went blind for what they did, but I surely should have. Like, yo, she went in. That was like real right there. She like, listen.
And to say nothing of Fiona Apple, who is almost nearly her entire catalog consists of how much she hates herself. So, and she's phenomenally talented. So, yes,
I mean, her catalog is like a lot of like consistent of how she hates herself, but also at the same time, like, could also be interpreted, as can many other artists, be interpreted as being a victim of society, which sometimes I think people hate themselves because they're truly a victim of society's expectations that they feel like they just can't meet.
Fiona Apple may be a bit of I would say an unusual case because she clearly does struggle with mental illness, and that's something. Or are we still recording?
Yeah, do you want me to stop?
Damn it!
He's like, I just dissed Fiona Apple.
Spot. All right. Well, honestly, I've never met her. it's not fair for me to make that diagnosis at all. I
You're
don't.
not a psychiatrist,
I'm
Sam.
not a psychiatrist. I don't know what her creative process is. But listening to her music, there's one of her songs goes, "Every single night is a fight with my brain." So based on that,
Well, that sounds about right.
right? So that song makes me believe that she does have her own struggles with mental illness, which is actually not something that I ever stated as a way to make fun of her. That wasn't my point.
I don't think that
Oh,
anybody.
you're doing a lot of you got a really big room and mouth out there. Clean that.
You're doing
He's
too
like,
much.
Yeah, I don't think anyone thought that.
I
Sam.
didn't think
I
that.
realize that,
Yeah.
but when she hears this, I want to.
well, she's gonna hear it. We're big
I
time now.
Wait, did you think that I stopped recording when I went away? Is that what you thought?
No, but
Okay.
I thought you might have actually. I wasn't sure, but I
Okay.
wanted to nip this in the bud, and I want to make sure that when she comes for me, I want to, because she's a hot knife and I'm like a pat of butter. So I'm actually pretty familiar with her oeuvre. So, but yeah, listen, I am hoping that someday, I can be like Judge Judy and say that like 10 million people listen to this. So, but yeah. So, so anyway, I think Fiona Apple's a bit of an outlier for this particular argument. However, there are a lot of people. I think eventually, people, as they mature, as they get older, they start to grow. They delve into politics and they make politics their subject, because it's when you're young. When you're young, it's like everything is about your world and what you see in front of you. And then when you get older, you look at the world around you. And I think that's
Well, and that kind of goes along with like the stages of brain development too, because if you look at like teenagers or even people in their early 20s, like their brain, like their prefrontal cortex is supposed to be not fully developed. So which leads to more like impulsivity and less maybe thinking about how your actions might affect others. Like, I feel like, and I don't mean this to be like a disclaimer, I don't mean this to be a diss on like 22-year-olds or whatever, because everybody was one at one point. But, I mean, I personally feel like that I did a lot more stupid, selfish shit at 21 or 22.
Am I the only one who's not concerned about saying something controversial?
I don't. What do you mean?
No, you're just the only one. I don't care about saying something controversial. You're just the only one who doesn't apologize for it.
Well, I straight up said that Fiona Apple was crazy. So that was like, I had to walk that back.
Actually, you didn't. What you just said was more
Yes.
Offensive.
I know.
offensive than what you said before. But
I know. No, I know. So there you go. All right, Ish.
I mean, if I listen to her music, I might think she flew over the cuckoo's nest myself.
Yeah.
And
Actually,
I'm not saying that that's what you think, but that's probably what I would say.
the funniest blurb I ever read about Fiona Apple's music, and this was somebody who was actually praising it, said, I can't remember where I read this, but so maybe I shouldn't say it because we might get sued for copyright. I don't care. Somebody said, I don't think I could survive a fight with Fiona Apple. All that bitterness is enough to make me want to ice pick my eardrums.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
It was
commentary.
It was really extreme.
Isn't Fiona Apple, isn't she one of your favorites there, Emily?
I mean, she is, but not like only like for karaoke, like so much as that I feel like that like my vocal range more closely matches her.
She's in your vocal range, right?
Yeah, like she or like Adele or Amy Winehouse are in my vocal range.
There you go.
Hit me with some Fiona.
I already did that one. We're not singing today. My throat can't take it no more. But I think like the issue of like, I think it's just like, it does. I see what you're saying about how like people like sometimes when they're younger, like it's more about things being a me problem. And then as they get older, like it becomes less, like their life becomes less of a me problem. Because I mean, I feel like that like maybe when I was younger, I didn't worry so much about like something being like selfish, if that makes any sense. Like that I didn't worry about as much when I was younger about coming across as selfish as I might now.
Well, I'm sure when Ariana Grande, if she's still in music when she's in her 30s, the content will be, it may be the same, but it'll be delivered different. She'll have matured.
Mm.
You know what I mean? She'll have more life experiences to sing about and things that might be more relevant to a larger group of people and not seem so me-ish. Even though it's all me-ish, you know, across the boards, but sometimes people just have a way of translating their pain in a way that's relevant for everyone else. I still think it's all, you know, so.
Well, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's not that, like, you know, I see, like, for example, like Taylor Swift's failed relationship as something that speaks to me personally, because that is not a problem that I have. You know what I mean? Like, so somebody like me could feel like, you know, well, why are we like, why am I taking my time to listen to like somebody sing about their failed relationship, like when they're starving children in Africa? I don't have a failed relationship, so why should I have to worry about hers?
Wait, but you don't feel it when Mary J. Blige says, "I should have left your ass 1,000 times"? That doesn't hit you?
I'm not gonna cry.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't really listen to Mary J. Blige like that.
Canceled.
That's
no
that's
more
a you problem.
Yeah, no more drama always gets me. So, but admit it, you know, but you can't relate to it because you have a successful relationship. But there are other people who are going through who are having relationship struggles and do relate to that.
But
so,
like, but then on the flip side, like somebody maybe like Taylor Swift or Ariana Grande, who has money, like might not relate to like my struggles of spending like my entire 20s like working for tips, basically.
Well, honestly, at that point, you know, their being rich is dependent on your buying their albums. So, like,
well, unless,
right.
Yes.
They damn well better care. And I also should.
Hypothetically, though, but like not if they were raised like with, like.
Not if they had money already.
Yes, not if they were raised with wealth.
Right, as
already.
Taylor Swift was. But Mary J. Blige has money too now.
No, but
She's had money for a long time.
Yes, she's a different case though. Like, and maybe, like, I don't know too much about like I can't speak for like how they felt about their own like family financial situations because like I wasn't there or whatever. But I'm just speaking like in the general sense that, like, say for example, like somebody, like I might not relate to somebody who's singing about a failed relationship because I have a successful relationship. But let's say I wanted to sing about like how friggin' horrible like working in customer service was and dealing with angry, pissed off customers for peanuts on
there are people out there who would love that.
Yes, but people who never had to do that wouldn't be able to relate. It's the same reason why, like, for example, like Clerks as a movie speaks to me because like all of that stupid customer, that the whole stupid customer scene 100% like is like realistic. That speaks to me. Like
I just want to
I've
interject that.
seen it happen.
I just want to interject that no matter how long Mary J. Blige has had money now, she can still remember when she didn't have money.
Oh,
when
I
she
know. I was just
struggling.
playing devil's advocate for a
Yeah.
second.
I mean, but you know, so
Yeah, but I'm saying so Taylor Swift can't. Taylor Swift
but-
will never be able to draw from that well.
No, she won't.
yeah, but that's just she just won't be able to draw from that well. So
Right.
Yeah, but to Emily finds her like vapid and like not
No,
not,
well, maybe
not
it's
deep.
not.
She doesn't
Maybe,
really like either one of them, though.
Well, that's another
well, no,
issue.
I'm not.
Do we have to stop recording now?
I don't find. No, there is a difference. I don't find Mary J. Blige vapid.
Right.
Like, look, like I forget the name of the song, but like the one that she does with Method Man. Like,
You're all I need.
yeah, I love that song, but like, albeit I listen to it more for Method Man than for her, but I still like her on that song.
Mm.
But like the point is that I don't think poorly of Mary J. Blige. It's just like musically, not
Yeah.
like I tend to go for more like for things with like
Social commentary.
no, not even that. I don't really listen to lyrics like that. Like I do sometimes, but like I tend to like musically I tend to go for things with like more bass. Like something could be social commentary and be hip hop versus something that's social commentary and be like country or R&B or pop. And I would probably go for like the hip hop or the rock version just because
So then-
that's what I like musically.
so then how do we reconcile 6ix9ine?
It's got bass.
Well, I think everybody is allowed to have their one or two guilty pleasures.
Okay.
That's like
I think everybody's allowed to have as many guilty pleasures as they like.
I think, but here's the thing, I think everybody's allowed to have pop culture guilty pleasures, but I personally, and it's okay if somebody chooses like to have
But the
like,
thing is, if it's something that you really like, why is it a guilty pleasure?
well, because it's not the popular opinion.
Well, I mean, it was.
Yeah, I don't think you should. If you like something, I don't think you should have to feel guilty about it just because it goes against the grain of what like the culture is deciding is worthy or.
Wait, that's not what a guilty pleasure is. Guilty pleasure is something that goes against your own
But you know,
sensibilities.
but the point, but it
That's
is,
what I'm getting at. Like,
but it is a guilty
Oh,
pleasure.
that's true. That's a good point.
In
Thank
the
you.
sense
Thank
that-
you for correcting me. Thank you for correcting me.
It
Yeah,
is-
like usually I don't like, maybe like I'm not huge into romance movies, but if there's one that just like for some reason gets me or I like it, it's kind of like
Please tell
it's
me
almost-
what that is. Please
But-
tell me.
no, that was just an
But my point is,
No,
My point-
honestly, this is gonna bug me now. I need to know.
I still
No,
think
I-
I still think that
I-
the idea of guilty pleasure is oxymoronic if you enjoy it.
but I wasn't done.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that too.
I wasn't done. Like
Sorry,
what
I'm sorry.
like what I'm saying is that like say like a 6ix9ine like actually does fit into like actually to some degree like both of those genres like rap and rock, but at this like he fits in genre wise. Is his music quality? No. But when I say guilty pleasure, I think that like people are allowed to like even people who are musicians have like music that they listen to that's considered fluff, if that makes any sense. Like people, like even like everybody watches like mindless television. Like like not everything has to be like complex or intellectually stimulating all the time. Like, am I making any sense here?
Yeah, I just don't think that it makes it a guilty pleasure.
Yes.
Well, maybe I'm using the wrong.
No, I mean, Itch doesn't
Word
believe
for
in
it.
guilty pleasures, but that's what a guilty pleasure is. That's something that
I didn't
goes
say I
against
don't
your-
believe in guilty pleasure. I said it's oxymoronic, because when you say it goes against your own sensibilities, how does it really go against your own sensibilities if you find it sensible to watch it
Yeah.
and enjoy it or partake in it?
Yep.
So, I mean, somebody uses that term pejoratively, but it's not like a factual thing. It's just a turn of phrase.
Yeah, it's a turn of phrase.
Yeah,
Some people
yeah.
people like to use the phrase.
I
But
feel
I'll
like
say,
It's a fun phrase. That's all.
Yes, yes.
I'll say, like me personally, like the reason why I, opinion-wise, prefer like 6ix9ine over Ariana Grande is because even though like neither, I mean, I would even venture to argue that if you looked at raw talent, that's not even a good comparison, because Ariana Grande, I will give it to her that she does have a great voice and a great vocal range, but I think that like the reason why I prefer like, you know, rap fluff over pop fluff, as the case may be, or like a 6ix9ine in particular, is because like Ariana Grande or like Taylor Swift are so like happy all the time and so conformist, and like a 6ix9ine has no problems like sticking up a middle finger to people who wrong him.
Or
Like
people who don't wrong him.
those guys wronged him. The one
Not when he was on his whole Test My Gangster. None of them people wronged him.
Later on, a lot of them did.
they
Yeah,
did.
because he went on a whole Test My Gangster tour,
No,
dissing everybody.
But-
Yeah, but they were right there with him.
but that's not.
No, I'm not talking about his crew. I'm talking about all of the people he made mad all over the country on his Test My Gangster tour.
Okay.
That's a
He was
different
just
problem.
trolling everyone.
That no, he didn't have a problem just sticking up a middle finger to everyone. Like the people that he testified against, though, they did wrong him. Like whether people think it was right for him to have testified, that's another problem for another
What
day.
about
I mean,
the
he
rappers
wronged he
randomly,
wronged them. He wronged them.
What about the rappers he randomly named though?
That's none of that is neither here nor there. Like
He's
Well, it was somewhere.
none
It
of
was
this
either here. It was
none
either
of
here or
this-
there.
none of this is relevant.
I know he
So,
certainly
what
wronged
I'm
the people.
saying-
He wronged the people that wronged him first.
How so?
Because I mean, if you listen to all of the interviews with like Snow Billy and all of them, 6ix9ine, they brought him in to be music, right?
Well, he effed them over.
Yeah,
but
he
also
used
did
them.
not testify
He
against him specifically.
Hold on. He put people out of the way. He used the fact that he was the bag to get people in leadership out of the way, and then he used their gangster to do his bidding. Like he paid people to shoot people.
But that was their idea.
Wait a minute. It wasn't the guy who shot at Chief Keef's idea to shoot at Chief Keef.
No, but it was his
6ix9ine put out.
6ix9ine put out the money, but it was his manager that came up with the idea.
Of shooting Chief
Okay.
Keef?
And his manager
At shooting at Chief Keef. It doesn't matter who came up with the idea. 6ix9ine was playing gangster.
Well, the point is that he said no, and I do fault him for saying yes to all that, but did that give them the right to steal?
Well, he didn't say yes to all of that. According to the story, he got into a position where He was power tripping.
But my
He had
point,
like these people around him that were gangster. He was power tripping. The guy who
so
was
what you're
supposed to be in
saying
charge
is
of
that,
him.
so what you're saying is that they robbed him and they slept with his girlfriend to get back at him, and
Well,
he's
that's not been confirmed that they slept with his girlfriend.
I
That has
believe
not
they
been
did.
confirmed.
I believe they did.
Plenty of people are saying that are supposedly stand-up dudes are saying that Shadi did not sleep with her. Plenty of people are saying that. I'm not saying that she didn't. I'm saying that it just hasn't been confirmed. And I'm not about to get on here and co-sign that woman did something that she's saying she didn't do. And plenty of people are
I'll
saying,
co-sign it. She's
but
crazy.
yeah, but the thing is, it still has not been confirmed. So 6ix9ine can say all he wants. From my perspective, 6ix9ine got on the radio and said all that stuff because he knew he was talking to the feds. So he was trying to put a story out in advance because your man was gonna snitch. That's what it looked like to me when he went on. When I look at it in retrospect, when he went on the Breakfast Club, and then a few days
But
later,
that's completely what it is. My point is that, like, I'm sorry, like, he had no right to be loyal to them.
he used them. Of course, he had a right to be loyal to him. He used them on some gangster stuff.
They used him too, though. They used him for money. They stole
But
from
it was
him.
hold on. It was never a secret. He was the bag. He knew he was the bag, and he took advantage of that.
But they stole more than they were entitled to.
Well, who got paid?
They siphoned off the top.
Who got paid?
Well, he still got paid, but they siphoned off the top.
Who in that crew got paid?
Shotty got paid. The
Who else?
other,
Who
the
of
other
these people?
guy, the one that he testified against, they got paid.
None of them dudes is millionaires. None of them.
That's not true. That's not true. They're hiding it.
Who?
They're lying through the side of their teeth.
We need to stick to facts. We need to stick to what is known.
The fact is that Shadi has the money, and he was hiding it from the court.
Okay, and where are you getting this information from? Where's the fact, the source that leads to these facts?
Well, he was getting paid as his manager, thus he has the money.
His manager's name was Chris.
But no, Shadi was his manager.
No, his manager's name was Chris. This has been confirmed as recently as a couple days ago.
Yes. Well, maybe his manager's name is Chris now. But
no, his manager's name was Chris.
My point is that Shadi said that he was his manager.
Shadi was just was muscle. Shadi had OGs that he had to answer to.
My point is, he said he was his manager, and then, like, you've got Jim Jones and Dipset in there in the mix, and you're telling me they don't have money? That's friggin' bullshit.
Yeah, but Jim Jones and Dipset aren't really in the mix. The people who are in the mix, they're not. The people who are really in the mix.
How is
Jim Jones
not locked up? He ordered a hit on 6ix9ine.
He didn't order a hit on 6ix9ine.
Like, let's be real. Yes, he did. It was played in court that he said you gotta super violate him.
Yeah, and what does that mean?
That means kill him.
Hold on. That's not necessarily what that means. Not if you have a lawyer. Like, it could mean beat him up.
But that they explicitly said in that wiretap, we're going to put bullets in him.
Hold on. Jim Jones didn't say that.
Yes, he did.
No, he did not.
Who did?
No, he did not. Jim Jones said he needed to be thrown out the whip. That's what Jim Jones said. He didn't say nothing about putting bullets in nobody.
Jim Jones said super violate him, which means kill.
No, that's not necessarily what that means. Because you are taking it to mean the most extreme definition, that doesn't make it the only definition. That's the reason why Jim Jones isn't in jail. Just because you're saying
he can afford a lawyer.
Well, no, because super violate by definition doesn't just mean what you're saying it means.
Then why was it interpreted that way?
If it was
Well,
interpreted,
It can interpret. People misinterpret things all the time.
all the
Let's not
time.
act like. Let's not act. And people certainly misinterpret things that come from, like the street, or certainly things that come from a culture they don't understand all
Right.
the time. I mean,
Right.
This was getting back to my point about the whole, the prosecutor going against the Wu-Tang and stuff. Like, those guys were accused of all types of stuff they said they didn't do. That eventually, I think everything got dropped. But RZA was accused of running guns, and they were accused of being all types of gang
But
members.
it's like, look, I'm not saying that, like, I feel like that I mean,
Think about it. Snow
like
Billy
you
got
said
shot in his
earlier- like you said earlier, I'm talking.
gone.
I
So
don't
his
want to
cousin shot him in his head and in his neck.
The point that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be like, I'm talking, but the point is that, like, it's neither here nor there, because none of us know any of these people. We're allowed to like what we like, and, like, nobody's ever going to know the full story, so it's not even worth speculating over it. I just think that, like, people in general, like, that people have no right or people have no mandate to be loyal to people who fucked them over.
Well, if you, I agree too. Unless you're in the street doing street things, then all bets are off.
I mean, that the problem is that's the way it is in the street, and I don't really have any leg to stand on to
Say
say
again?
I don't really have any leg to stand on to say that it should be different, because
you can't be screaming blood and making money off being a blood when real people.
I am a civilian, but
Yeah.
the point is that, like, I think it should be that, like, I think loyalty in the street is messed up, because it basically, like, saying no snitching is like saying, I'm gonna be a pussy, I'm gonna sit here and let people, like, fuck me up.
No,
I can't say anything back.
It's saying I'm gonna sign on for a lifestyle that I better be able to live up to, or then I am that P word. I better be able to live up to what I signed up for because I know the rules. I'm not saying I agree. That's why I'm not in that lifestyle. But the reality is, if you jump off the porch, then you get prepared to play in the street, right? And what I mean is, you can't. I would never rep blood, make money off being a blood, knowing that people are dying in the streets for being a blood, and I'm not ready to stand on that. But I'm a profit off of it.
Why does any of this matter? It's celebrity gossip.
No, because we're just talking about you know, you were saying that there's no reason why in that situation that, you know, I forget how you said it, and me and Mike both agreed. I forget how exactly you said it, but, like, he absolutely was supposed to be loyal. He knew what he signed up for.
But the thing is like, no, he didn't. I don't think he did.
He went on a Test My Gangster tour. He went to Chicago.
I'm talking about before he had anything to do with those guys.
Well, he crew hopped. He went from a Crip crew to Treyway. Like, he was crew hopping, and he got with Treyway, and he realized Treyway was them dudes. They could be.
But what I'm saying is that people who start hanging around with people from the street sometimes don't realize what they're really signing up for.
Yeah, but he's from the streets.
No,
he's from
not.
Brooklyn. He's from Brooklyn.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
That doesn't mean anything.
I'm not saying he was street. I'm not saying he was. I didn't say he was street. I said he's from the streets. He is. He grew up poor. He watched his father get shot at a corner store across the street from him. Like, he's from the streets. I didn't say he was street, but he absolutely is from the streets.
But here's my point. I feel like I would get suckered, and I should know better. Like,
but you make it like he got suckered. Like, he got on video and dissed people in LA and dissed people in Chicago because he didn't know what he was getting into.
No, I'm not saying he knew what he was into by that point. He just got in too deep and couldn't find his way out.
Like many people often do. And once you choose to walk, he's a grown man. Once you choose to walk down that path, that's the path you're on. That's what you're doing. Like that's what you.
Then here's my point. How can people say now that they're not street and that they're civilian and that they're not part of a gang when it's supposedly for life? How did they get out?
Well, I don't know that it's for life. People leave all the time. People go do, leave all the time. What I'm saying is 6ix9ine was in a situation where he used a lot of people as a platform for himself, and those people were still hungry. We just gonna let you leave? We ain't have nowhere to live. We brought you somewhere to live. We slept on the floor with you. 10, 15 people in a house.
Wait, say again. Wait, what are you talking about?
When 6ix9ine ain't have nowhere to live, remember he was living at the dog pound, the same house that Shotty was living in. It was like 15 of them living in a house on the floor.
I didn't know. I don't know this whole history.
Yeah, that's how when they brought 6ix9ine, when they first brought 6ix9ine to Snow Billy, Shotty was their muscle. Harv and Shotty was the muscle.
But the way that his side tells it is that he was the one that gave them a place to live.
What? He ain't have nothing. He ain't even have nowhere to live.
Yeah, but then he was paying for everything for them.
When he got on. But before he got on, they listen, you gotta watch the people who give interviews about it. Like they wasn't even feeling the little rainbow hairdo. But the OGs was. They were. He was the bag. You supposed to protect your bag in the streets. He's the money. We're gonna protect him. They took him to the spot. It was called the dog pound. That's where he lived. They all of the grinding. Think about it. All them dudes that was in that first video was all the dudes who lived at the house with him.
But what my point is that we don't know any of these people personally. So why should we believe either one over the other?
Well, 6ix9ine said as much. 6ix9ine tells you how he came up with them. Remember, he was screaming Treyway.
That's not the way he tells the story, though.
Well, he definitely tells the story that he slept on the floor next to Shotty. He says it in the video. We slept on the floor next to each other.
Yeah.
That's why he was so hurt over the so-called idea that Shotty slept with his baby mother.
Exactly the point. They betrayed him. So what loyalty did he have to them?
Hold on. We don't know that he slept with his baby's mother. We do know that he slept on the floor in the apartment with them, that they brought him up. He ain't just accidentally find Treyway.
We don't know that.
No, the one thing we do know that.
No,
the one thing that we do know is that they tried to rob him. That we know because we heard it on tape.
We do know that Treyway brought him up.
Anything.
6ix9ine said as much.
Sorry, I don't mean to turn up.
But 6ix9ine has said as much.
But he could be lying too. Look, the point that I'm making is that if we're talking about people we don't know, and that we don't know their character, we don't know how they are in real life, they're celebrities, why should we believe any of them?
Why should we believe anything?
Well, I have an answer
from
to that.
Anyone that we don't know.
I don't believe anything from anybody I don't know.
If their stories corroborate
you believe he slept with 6ix9ine baby mother.
I think it's very plausible, but even I don't think like that's a done deal because I wasn't standing there watching.
If their stories corroborate each other, there's a much greater chance that at least that part is true.
Right.
The part that we heard on the video where they are robbing him in that cab, that we know is true because we heard it with our own ears.
Right.
I mean, I'm with Emily on this, that if like someone tries to fucking rob me, like there's no, that's like, they just became an enemy. Like there's no,
but that doesn't mean I'm snitching on you. That means I'm handling it.
I see. Well, we'll see, and this is what it all comes back.
Yeah, but why would you sit and why would handling it mean you going to jail and sitting for 50 years for guys who fucked you over?
Because he put himself in the streets.
Well, okay.
He
So
signed on for it.
this
So
is
That's
what
the
we're.
risk.
So what you're saying is that he should have known that he was signing away half his life to jail?
No, what? I mean, why is 6ix9ine an exception to anybody else who decides to be in the streets?
Well, here's my thing. He never. This was the trick. He never actually signed himself to the street. It was just all, it was all for profit. It was just all like an act. He was trolling the whole time.
Until he
he's
had
pretending.
people fighting for him in airports in LA.
Well, yeah. Well, then, I mean, it did cross the line.
Yeah,
Nobody's.
but did
saying
he
that it
tell
didn't.
them to do that, or did they decide to do that?
He brought them there to protect him because he went off on LA on his Test My Gangster tour. That's what he called it. Test My Gangster tour. He dissed everybody in LA and then went to LA and then brought Treyway with him to protect him and got in a fight in the airport in LA.
Yes, but don't most celebrities have bodyguards?
Hold on. Yes. What are we doing here? What are we doing here?
He was paying them to be his bodyguards.
Hold on. What are we doing here? He didn't pay Billy Ado anything. But hold on. What are we doing here? He picked a fight with people in LA and then went to LA and got in a fight.
I don't really think that anything that he did, I don't think that or that any of the rest of this is relevant, like when we're talking about music. Like,
but that's the point. He blurred the lines. You have people around you whose lives could be lost because of your antics. You are screaming Treyway, a blood gang, and using that to pick a fight with gangs in LA on your Test My Gangster tour. Then he did it with people in Chicago and then went to Chicago, went to their hood. He did it on some cheap, at 4 o'clock in the morning, jumped out the car and took a picture in a hood. But after he had dissed Chicago.
But listen, none of that's all of them problem. None of that's a me problem. Like, why should I insert myself into their personal business?
What are you talking about?
Why should any of this have an effect on my opinion of the music? Or
I didn't say that it should at all. Well, I didn't say that it should at all. You asked the question. You said, so 6ix9ine just, he should just known that he was gonna, he could risk going to jail.
We wouldn't have even gotten into this conversation had you guys not asked me to say why I preferred 6ix9ine over.
Oh yeah, but that led you to say that he got screwed over.
That's my personal opinion. That don't mean anything. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone has them.
Oh yeah, but I mean, what are we doing here? Are we backtracking, or are we just having a conversation?
Well, I just don't see the need for and maybe once again this comes from my reticence about negative emotion, but I don't see the need to be screaming over each other over celebrities.
Well, I think only one person screamed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, you know what I find interesting is you could have also gone with Pop Smoke. That would have been a much different choice, but you went with 6ix9ine, which made it a much more interesting video.
6ix9ine.
No, I didn't.
Somebody prompted me. Nobody prompted me to compare Ariana Grande and Pop Smoke.
Well, we were comparing what you liked versus what you didn't, and what I don't know, the different genres or something. But
well,
either way,
you had said that you tend to like rap music that has bass and speaks to social conditions, and that's when 6ix9ine came up, and we were wondering how. And then we got into the whole guilty pleasure thing.
Well, realistically,
that's how we got on the 6ix9ine topic.
Realistically, when I say has a beat and has social commentary, I don't mean necessarily that whole. I don't mean that the two have to always come together. That's an or, not an and.
Well, no, it just went into guilty pleasure, and that's how we got into the 6ix9ine thing.
But I guess like my point is that like all of this history, all of like his history is like completely irrelevant to like him versus Ariana Grande as artists. So now I'm kind of like, well, what are we doing here?
Well, he's edgier, I think, is what we're probably getting at, right? You like edgier music. Ariana maybe feels a little too safe and
Sanitized.
sanitized.
Yeah.
He's 6ix9ine is certainly not sanitized, if anything.
Well, I think it's just like a matter of like I personally, I mean, and this is like a personal internal conflict that I have even like, but like where on one hand, like I'm afraid to express negative emotion, and on the other hand, I feel like that I need to, if that makes any sort of reasonable.
It was cathartic. It was like a primordial scream.
If that makes any sort of sense. No,
Yeah.
because I feel like that, like, you know, kind of like the I don't give a fuck attitude is kind of like what I wish to be, but like that I can't. So that's why like edgier things appeal to me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, whether it's punk music or whether it's gangster music, it's escapism, right? Like we're listening to people like, you know, when Snoop and those guys came out, you know, some people have asked, you know, isn't all gangster rap the same? But whatever Snoop was doing with his voice and his storytelling, he was inviting you into a world that you could listen to with a lot of awe and interest from a safe distance, you know? And it's a very intriguing world. Whereas for you, there's nothing very intriguing about, you know, rich girl Ariana or Taylor Swift's teen angst, right? It just sounds like emo bullshit to you, and that's totally okay.
First world problems.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with feeling that way, and that's how you feel. And maybe when they get a little bit older, maybe they put a little extra oomph into it that you can feel, or maybe they're just not your artist, and that's cool.
I mean, I think like also like it's just like, you know, I don't like, let me preface this with that, like I do actually agree that like I don't necessarily condone like poking the bear or like trolling per se, or purposefully starting conflict or purposefully pissing people off to get attention. I don't, if that was the case with 6ix9ine, I certainly don't condone any of that.
You know, he's not the only one. I mean,
necessarily, but what I'm saying, I wasn't done. Sorry, I think that's the reason why I keep like yelling, because I keep feeling like I keep like being like, I wasn't done. But I think I don't condone the trolling, but at the same time, I don't feel like that like you can like boycott or cancel an artist for their personal stupidity. And the point of me arguing about like, well, he said this, well, he said this, like really anything you hear from any celebrity gossip is no more than a he said, she said situation that like we shouldn't even, that I feel like it's not necessary to even like take into consideration that when choosing what you like.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people.
So
people,
when you speak to personal stupidity, because I feel like
I was going to say something too.
You're doubling back because you condemned Ariana Grande and Taylor Swift for just that.
I don't think she ever said anything about personal
She
stupidity.
just said it's a me problem, and why don't you go see a therapist? Like,
Yeah, what
said,
does that have to do with stupidity?
That's not
That's just not
stupidity.
feeling, that's not just not feeling their little teen angsty
I
problems.
don't think that's what Emily did there. I don't think that personally, that's what Emily did there.
Yeah,
I do.
that's not stupidity. It's
That's-
just insignificant. You know, it's just like trivial. You know, it's whatever. It's teen drama.
However, what I do want to know that is, since Emily said that, I want to know whether, because she just said she doesn't think that people should be, celebrities should be canceled because of personal stupidity. Now, I would like to know if that is extended towards if she would consider controversial political statements personal stupidity, and whether or not she thinks that they should be canceled for that.
It depends on how much of an effect they have on, like, not just the people around them, but like greater people as a whole. Like, it's some, like, that's not personal, like, stupidity. If somebody says don't wear a mask, that's just stupidity. But my point is that,
well, what makes it not personal?
because their right to swing their fist ends where my face begins, quite frankly. Like, what gives them the right to, like, get me sick because they want to throw a temper tantrum about not wearing a mask in a store or something?
Okay.
That's not personal. That's stupidity.
Okay, but then I guess to Ish's point, how did 6ix9ine's behavior, how was that not affecting the people around him? He put
I
people's
didn't
lives
say
at,
it wasn't affecting the people around him, but
he put people's lives at risk, though. Isn't
he,
that
what I'm saying is he put their lives at risk, but he didn't put the entire American population's lives at risk. Somebody like Trump put the entire American population's lives at risk when he refused to wear a mask and made a big stink of it on TV.
Now I think we're trivializing.
Yeah. So how? Okay. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like a few people versus the world at large. However, I would argue that every single person is in the world, and so like those people could be anybody. Like they could be like, they're people. Like, okay, so 6ix9ine didn't put the entire world at risk, but those people whose lives he did put at risk, those are people who have family members and friends. There are people out there who know those people. And just because you and I are not one of them doesn't mean that it wouldn't affect us or affect somebody if they lost their lives over it.
Look, anybody losing their lives offends somebody, but at the same point, we're talking about people who put themselves on the street, who made the choice to be on the streets in the first place, knowing darn well that, like, death was could be a potential consequence of
Yeah,
that.
I'm not gonna say anything.
What?
No, I just said Ish. I just said to Ish, I'm not gonna say anything.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Okay.
I think I will say.
But
I
Emily,
think
I want to continue to hear what you had to say.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's a good point, but, and I'll leave it at that. There is a but, and that is a good point, but, and there is a but. Like where is the line drawn between people? Like if you jump off the porch and you play in the street, like you're playing in the street, so you're right. But do you expect to be put in a situation unnecessarily so that you can be a troll? I mean, he's being a troll.
Well,
Actually, they're both being trolls.
but here's my point is that, like, the thing is that if they were, how do I phrase this? Like, maybe I'm wrong about this, but like, if I feel like that if they've been around him for ages and managing him, shouldn't they have made, if they really thought that, like, he was going to do something stupid to put their lives at risk, shouldn't they have made the effort to talk him out of it? And I'm not saying that they didn't, but, like, and in which case, like, I agree that it was, like, stupidity to put their lives at risk if he,
well, and it's also
anyway.
not fair to fall back on that point if it doesn't apply to 6ix9ine, right? Like, it's not fair to say, well, they put themselves in that situation. They knew what they were signing up for. But then when it comes to 6ix9ine, he gets exonerated from that.
It's not, but at the same, let me put this in more like, let me kind of put this in more favorable terms, like, or in more concrete terms. Like I have friends who happen to, like, I do have friends, like, outside of this group, like, people that, like, that I used to work with at Starbucks, whatever, who live, say, like, in the projects, that who have lived in New York in these neighborhoods their entire lives, who I think would still be duped, honestly, by people from the street because they were kept so sheltered
So it
throughout their
sounds like you're
entire
saying
life.
6ix9ine is the only one who didn't know what he was signing up for.
I feel like that, comparatively to the other guys, if only because he was so much younger than them, yes, but it is, I don't know, I just feel like that, like, just being from a certain neighborhood doesn't necessarily mean that you really know the ins and outs of the streets and what you would be signing up for, and it doesn't mean that you can't be duped, if that makes any sense. But
I can
then
agree. I can agree with that, but also these guys, they wanted to make money, so I think I think there was a risk reward analysis for them too. You know, he was doing crazy shit, putting them at risk, but they were making money off of it.
exactly the point, like, he was paying for them to defend him. But I mean, look, I agree, like, you know, you can say, like, you know, these people have lives, these people have families. Well, yes, like, but they also had a choice not to be in that situation.
The same choice 6ix9ine had.
I think one thing we can all agree with is when the next 6ix9ine video comes out, we're all gonna dress up like rats and watch the video.
I'm not,
We're gonna watch the
but I didn't watch
premiere.
6ix9ine anyway, so.
But my point is that, like, I think, so here's my point, like, how do I phrase this? Like, the reason why I'm saying that they don't deserve a pass, maybe that he does, is that we're talking people who, like, grew up, like, jumped off the porch and onto the street.
That's not fair.
We're talking people who have been in that lifestyle since
That's not fair.
10 years old. They knew what they were signing up for.
That's an assumption.
Yeah, we don't know any of these people.
There's so many doorways.
That's not an assumption.
No, it is. There's so many doorways into. I'm trying to tell you, because there's so many doorways into gang.
Read about these specific people, though. I've seen the papers describing them.
So wait a minute. I'm really confused. When is it okay to believe gossip, and when is it okay not to believe gossip when we don't actually know these people?
Court papers can be believed.
Hold on. So you're telling me that because someone put it in a court paper, it's more valid than when I give you accounts that the horse said out of his mouth? You literally said to me, why should we believe what 6ix9ine said? How do we not know he's lying? He's an entertainer.
He's probably lying. Other people are, and I'm not even saying lying, like embellishing the truth. But
so then these accounts written on court documents can't be embellishment of the truth based upon the testimony of the people?
What I'm saying is they can be embellishment of the truth, but, you know, if they, like, say if, like, probation interviews, like,
Well, let's
the
not go hypothetical though. Let's just
mother.
go with what we
But
know.
what I'm saying is that these court papers were based upon interviews with family members about facts, about background, and these guys, their mothers said that they were basically out on the streets from age 10. So like, who knows a kid better than their own mother?
And now I have a problem. I have a problem with the interpretation of what happens on the street based upon the information that you're providing me. Because I was on the streets at a certain age. It doesn't mean I was in a gang. I hung out with gang members at a certain age. It does not mean I was in a gang. At one point in time, I got involved with a gang, but I had hung out on the streets, on the block, around gang activity and around gang members who were my friends, and I wasn't in a gang.
And I'm not saying necessarily that these guys were either, but
Well,
hold on, I wasn't done.
Neither was I, but go on.
But what I'm saying
Neither
is
was I.
that what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that these people were initiated hardcore into a gang at age 10, but but with the account that you just told me, tell me, would you have known? You just said you were hanging out with people on the streets from a young age. Would you have known what you were getting into should you decide to formally join a gang?
On some level, no. Like most people don't. It's learned from doing. You learn along the way, like you do at most things that you do at a young age in life.
Because I feel like, wouldn't you have seen the activity? Like, and correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I'm not trying to like pick a fight or anything, but like,
No, I'll give you an example. I used to watch people sell drugs all the time, but when I tried, I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I sat in dope houses, watched stuff be chopped up, and I still didn't have any idea until I had done it for a while.
But you didn't. But what I'm saying is that like you didn't have any idea that like you can't say that you didn't have any idea that shootings happened, that like drugs happened, blah 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 blah. Like that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who were like literally that sheltered.
Yeah, but what are you saying though? That still doesn't equate to a thing. It doesn't describe an intimate experience.
What I'm saying is that like what I'm saying is that like, for example, like
these people just don't wake up one day, jump off the porch, and know how to be in a gang.
No, but some people don't understand. Like I've on the flip side talked to people who have gotten. I'm on the flip side talk to people who have gotten involved in street stuff at age 10 or 11, and now they're like 29, 30, whatever. They want to get the hell out and they don't know how. Like that's what I'm talking about. People who really don't know that
it's like me
consequences to their actions.
It's like me describing what it's like to be in the mafia. I really can't. I have ideas, but they're all from the outside looking in.
I have a question. Did 6ix9ine really try to get someone killed, or was he just trying to scare them? Like, was it shoot at them or was it shoot like towards them, or was it really like shoot them?
Well, the account was that it was just supposed to be to scare them.
Yeah.
But
that was the defense. That was
again, who knows? Like I've been saying this whole time, like nobody knows the real story except the people involved, and we need to keep that in mind.
The one thing that did come out was that someone in that camp around 6ix9ine had Snow Billy shot because they shot him. His cousin shot him in his neck and in his head.
Well, and that did come out, and that was that's fact that I don't dispute.
Is
But
Snow Billy alive?
Yes.
yes, but I don't think that, like, from what I can gather, I might be wrong, but I don't think that was connected. Like, I don't think 6ix9ine ordered that shooting.
Well, that I can't say one way or the other. I know Snow Billy says he did. That they wanted him
that's
out of the
what
way because Snow Billy had a completely different vision for 6ix9ine.
Yes, but the way
And
that
they want Snow Billy, his account in the book that he wrote is that he turned down $1 million deal when he was running the whole show because he
there's
had a
3 sides
completely
to
different vision for 6ix9ine.
I know all of this stuff. But
We know that there are different sides. I'm just explaining to Mike because he, and you had said, I'm just explaining for the air because you said that we don't know that it came from that camp. The consensus story is, whether it's true or not, whether it's just someone's account or not, there is a consensus story, whether we believe it or not. And the consensus story is that Snow Billy was running the whole show. He was the OG. He is the OG still. He was the OG. He was responsible for 6ix9ine, and his vision for 6ix9ine was to market him as Disney style, as Ariana Grande style. Like, this is what he wanted for 6ix9ine because there was more money coming from that particular avenue. Like, that's just a better way to market him. Well, when 6ix9ine got offered $1 million contract and Snow Billy said no, now you got all these wolves who could care less about music, other shot callers. We don't care. This is how we eat in the streets. Care less. We're not rappers. We're not producers. We want that $1 million, and we want whatever is coming at, whatever bag comes at 6ix9ine, this quick money, we can get it now. Snow Billy gotta go. That's the consensus story in quotations.
But
Snow Billy has to go.
But look, let me kind of clarify what I was saying, though. Yes, that is the consensus story, but from what I read, like when I say, like, 6ix9ine himself, like, it sounds like maybe you're interpreting it to mean that I'm saying his camp. No, I mean literally him himself, from like the way that, from what I read, and again, I might be wrong, and there's 3 sides to every story, yours, theirs, and the truth.
Yep.
But I was under the impression that it wasn't him, that he was just kind of sitting there while, like, Shotty and Snow Billy were fighting over him.
Well, Shotty is loyal to Snow Billy.
I mean, again, 3 sides to every story. Hit yours, theirs, and the others. But
well, I mean, Snow Billy just said in his most recent interview a week ago on Vlad TV, like, all he did was sing. Shotty was his hitter. Shotty is only muscle.
But that's not the way that he's portrayed to the public.
Right, of course, because why would you know what I mean? Like, street stuff belongs in the street.
But then why is he broadcasting it all over the place? Like,
why
going on Snow Billy?
Because he wrote a book.
Well, why is he writing a book about street business that stays on the street?
But he ain't really giving up street business. Shotty got arrested. Shotty's in jail. He ain't snitch on nobody. He didn't tell anything that is not known. You and I are just trivializing over whether it's fact or not. But the stuff that he talked about and put in his book is generally known.
No, some of that is not known to the general public.
I mean, it's not hard to scratch the surface and find out if someone wanted to. Like, it's all out there.
But the point is that you just said, like, Shotty was the muscle, but isn't that, or Snow Billy was the OG, but isn't that kind of giving away, like, classified?
No, everybody knew Snow Billy was the OG because he did multiple bids in jail and he was the OG. Like, everybody knows Snow Billy. Anyone who knows anything about, like, there's a lot of things that are known about the history of Bloods in New York State that's, like, known. Like, it's not secret information. It's out there. Anybody who does a bid, like, every Fed, if you go to federal prison, The warden knows who the shot callers are. It's
Yeah,
not a secret to him.
I'm saying law enforcement knows, correctional officers knows, officer knows, but like Joe Schmo on the street like didn't know this information, so why is he giving it away to Joe Schmo in the street? That's
Well,
stupid.
why can't he?
Like,
How does it affect Joe Smo in the street?
Yeah, there's no
Like,
consequence. There's no
there's no
consequence
consequence.
there if he's not giving up information that's going to put someone away
Yeah,
or hurt.
put someone in jail. Like there's no there's no consequence.
So what is the?
no, but I feel like that, like, no, but here's my point. Like, I feel like that, like, if you're running like an underground organization, why would you tell like normal people who do have mouths and can talk?
Because
you're-
everybody already knows.
Like, it's the
Like
same.
the people who could affect him already know. He's done multiple bids. Like the law enforcement already knows. Like they know who Snowbilly is.
Yeah, Joe Schmo's not going to run to the police and tell them something they don't already know.
I mean,
I read
that's
that
a good. That's no, you're 100%. That's a good point. But what I'm saying is that, like, but what I'm saying is, to me, and this is just a personal opinion, but to me, giving up the organizational structure of and giving up like that kind of information is akin to giving up like battle plans and from the military.
Yeah,
Like,
but he didn't give up the organizational structure.
how is like saying what people's roles are not giving organizational structure then?
Because everybody knew Shotty role and everybody knows Shotty's role. You only knew him as a manager because you don't know, like you don't pay that close attention to that side of the game. But everybody else knew who Shotty was. I mean, we saw him on camera shooting.
But it's like, my point is
We knew he was a shooter the moment we saw him on camera shooting.
my point is that like I feel like that like you're acting like that this is just like information that like everybody knows and everybody doesn't know.
Yeah, but what I'm acting like is, why does that information that is public knowledge, and what I mean by public knowledge is it's very easy for Joe Blow to just come across. What is the consequence of giving that information? He has not given he hasn't violated structural integrity. We don't know who the other shot callers are because he didn't name them. He only talked about the people that we know about.
Well, yes, but what I'm saying is that like not you say, oh, well, we saw him pick up a gun. We know that he's a shooter now. Well, not everybody.
I'm using that as an
and
example.
Watches people. Not everybody sits and watches surveillance cameras. Like we're talking
Well,
about.
no, it was just on TMZ.
Well, no, not everybody reads TMZ.
Okay, but what you're doing is you're diminishing. Like, okay, because everybody doesn't know what Gabrielle Godot does that she starred in Wonder Woman doesn't mean that it's no less public knowledge.
Right.
Gail, you know what I mean?
If this is all going back to snitching, if it's public info, it's kind of like people accuse 50 Cent of snitching when he came out with a song, what was it, the Quran, Ghetto Quran, where he's talking about a bunch of street stuff. But this was stuff that was already known, right? So like the average civilian didn't know it. So, people were talking shit saying, oh, 50 snitching. But like this stuff was already known by like everyone from like police to people in the street. So if no new information is gained, then no one's getting in trouble for it, right? It's just the average Joe Schmo doesn't know, but they're not bringing anything to the police like they don't already know.
Well,
right. I mean, Shotty got on camera first day screaming Treyway.
Here's my thing is that like maybe it's just a me thing. Like I wasn't even thinking along the lines of like Joe Schmo can read and go tell law enforcement. I was thinking more along the lines of like, and again, maybe it's a me thing. I'm not the kind of person who goes and airs out private business to everybody. Like what happens between me and you is what happens between me and you. And I'm not going to go telling everybody else about it, much less write a book.
I mean, okay, that I guess different, to each his own.
Like, and that's why I said, well, maybe this is a me thing, like that it just doesn't make sense to me.
I mean,
Yeah, it's just taking it to a wider audience, I guess. I mean, it's some people definitely look down upon it. That's for sure.
yeah,
But,
for
you
sure.
know,
Like, I just don't see the, I guess what it is like, I just don't see the point of airing dirty laundry.
Sometimes
money.
people
He's
just
gonna
want to
make a
tell.
bunch of money.
Yeah, he's gonna make money. Sometimes people want to tell their story. I mean, he got shot in the head, he got shot in the neck, and he lived.
I mean, the whole thing is like, I mean, here's my point. Like, realistically, I'm not quite sure why we're back on this conversation, because all of this is like, speaking of like specific people and celebrities, like everything is always going to be speculation, whether it's like 6ix9ine or Gal Gadot or whoever the hell. Everything's going to be speculation because we don't know these people. Like, but I do think it's like a substantive conversation to have about like, and maybe I'm under a misconception that like I need to like check myself and learn more about it. But like, I was always personally under the impression that like most, that like, if you were, how do I phrase this? Like, if you were allowed to be out on the street, like playing in certain neighborhoods, you knew like what you were getting into, but if your parents sheltered you, you didn't. And then the people who were sheltered were more vulnerable. But maybe to like actually being sucked into to a situation they didn't know what they were getting into. But maybe that's a misconception on my part.
I don't think so. I think on some level it is, but on some level I think you're correct.
I still say we
But
could have spoken about Pop Smoke and given him a lot of coverage, and
I don't know. He's gotten a no. I don't want to talk about him. And I don't even want to talk about musicians anymore because
I definitely don't think you're speaking about a misconception though. I don't think it's a misconception. I think you're
that
right.
people
About
whose parents kept them inside are less
Yes.
likely to know what they're getting into.
Yes. Yes. But I also think on some level, just because people are out in the street doesn't even mean that they know what they're getting into. Like, gang behavior is a learned activity at the end of the day. You don't fall into the gang knowing what you're doing. Even if you've been exposed to that lifestyle, you just don't wake up one day and, however you get blessed into the gang, whatever the means are based upon that gang, you don't just, it's a learning experience nonetheless.
But I mean, here's my thing is like, that yes, you're right. It's a learning experience, but I feel like that like there's a difference between like, being green and having been in that lifestyle for like 15, 20 years, knowing that there's a possibility that it might lead to death. Like, I think that's maybe when I personally, and this is going to sound callous on my part, and I apologize in advance, but that's when you've been in that lifestyle for like 10, 15 years, like I feel like my sympathy wanes because I feel like there's just no excuse to not know what you're in for at that point.
I mean, I would agree. I think that 9 out of 10 times that lifestyle leads to jail or the grave. And I think that most people are aware of that, or at the very least become aware of it. But it all depends on how deep you're in and what exactly it is that you're doing in that lifestyle.
Well,
Like,
and my point is that like, for lack of a better term, and maybe I have misconceptions because like I'm me and I'm naive, but like, let's say hypothetically that like somebody gets like let me throw out an example. Like I've had students come to me saying that they had been or begun like or were in some whatever, some line of initiation process into the Crips in Queens, right? And now they're saying, oh shit, I think I fucked up. I don't want to be involved in this anymore. Is like, I guess here's what I'm not getting. Is there any way for them to change their minds without dying or snitching or going to jail or like evaporating or what? You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know. I can't. Who can speak for all gang dynamics? You know what I mean? There's so many different cliques and so many different gangs and different dynamics. Like I don't know. You know, I never me personally growing up, I never had to, well, except for when I was in, you know, younger, living on the east side, you know, I never had to actually join a gang to be a part of a gang, right? Like in the projects that I came up in, we just all were in the projects and we all hustled and we all were crew. And if you came to, you know, if you came with smoke, then, you know, we united, but we kind of did our own things, right? Like nobody could tell me what I could hustle, when I could decide I don't want to hustle. Like no one could tell me as much. But I'm sure if you're in something
It's like
as
there was
regimented,
no regimented organization to what you were
right,
dealing with.
right. You know, you had certain people that were shot callers by virtue of, well, I'll give you an example, right? Like I might be a shot caller, not because I'm a leader or anything, but because I got all the money and I'm the plug. I got the connect. So everybody who wants to get dope comes to me. You see what I'm saying? So that
Yeah.
by virtue of that, I'm a shot caller, not because I'm really the leader of this crew. I just happen to have the consistent connect of good dope that everybody wants. So they, you know, they come through me. And I'm not giving my connect to everybody because it's my man. You see what I'm saying? But
That makes sense.
you know what I mean? So because of that, I'm the, you know, I'm that dude. And there might be a couple of them. For
So
me, it
like
wasn't,
the people in charge became in charge by
I
circumstance,
did my own
not by
thing.
any
It was a crew.
not
Like
by any level of organization.
very good friends of mine to this day. Won't give anything away on them, but they hustled together. But I didn't hustle with them. But they was my peoples. We grew up together. We, you know, hung out on the block together. They did their own thing. One of them gave me a plug for weed, and nobody was selling weed on the level that I was for a period of time. And when I decided I wanted to stop, I stopped. It wasn't no beef. You know what I mean? They did their thing. I did my thing. And a couple people were like that. Like, you know, you just couldn't come to my hood if you weren't from my hood and just take up shop and start hustling. But if you were from my hood, from my projects in particular, like all bets, everything's fair. Anybody can do whatever they want.
So what do you think? Like, let me put this out there.
You know
Like,
what I mean?
let's say, like, yeah, no, I do know what you mean, but let's say hypothetically, like, an alternate universe, like, I literally like have friends that grew up in the projects and their parents literally kept them locked inside at all times because they didn't want them around any of that street stuff. Like they weren't allowed to play outside, no nothing. Like I feel like and they didn't get sucked into things when they were older because fortunately, I guess they were built with natural bullshit detectors. I don't know, but I feel like they would have been more vulnerable to getting like sucked in fast to like if you're in the wrong place with the wrong person, you're in danger. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. I don't know that. I mean, yeah. It all depends on how you carry yourself too, even if you're naive. Like it just depends on how you carry yourself. Like I was very naive because for a long time I wasn't involved in gangs. I just knew people and, you know, grew up with people. Like most of my friends when I was very young grew up and became, you know, got involved in violent gangs, like violent gangs. Like I grew up with people, we used to play hide and go seek with each other, and by the time we were teenagers, they were shooting at each other. You know what I'm saying? The same
Yeah.
people that we used to play hide and go seek with. So for me, I was naive, and I was naive. When I started hustling weed, I was very naive. To my credit and to my benefit, I hung out in the hood. I was known in my hood, and I was a stand-up guy in the streets. So a lot of people protected me. I mean, I just happened to crew up with the right people anyway. Like my crew was the right people.
But I guess like let me put out this like hypothetical scenario, and maybe it wouldn't happen, but maybe it wouldn't happen, and it may be a moot point. But hypothetical. Let's say that hypothetically, like you got one person, like a guy that's let's say you got a dude that's affiliated, and not only affiliated but in like deep moving weight, carries guns type of shit, and they they have a girlfriend that's that's not in that lifestyle, that's a civilian ostensibly.
She's not a
does,
civilian.
does her life automatically go into danger?
Yeah, she's
Like
not a civilian.
has she decided, has she what if she has no idea that the boyfriend is in that deep? Like, how is
In
it
that
there for
deep or in it at all?
in that deep, or
Well,
in
she's
it at all for that matter?
because
Actually,
there's a difference between being in that deep and in it at all. Because if she knows he's in it and she's in any way benefiting off of said lifestyle, she's in the lifestyle. She's supporting it and benefiting from it.
okay, let me rephrase that. Like, what if the dude what if say the dude had says he was in that lifestyle in the past and said he's left that lifestyle, but in reality he hasn't, and he lied to his quote unquote civilian girlfriend, and she has no bloody clue? Should that automatically put her life in danger?
Yeah, but why? What would be the circumstances that her life would be in danger for him being in that lifestyle? What would be the circumstances?
Isn't it plausible that, like, say for example, isn't it like, what if dude wrongs somebody on the streets but doesn't tell, like, and they want to get revenge? Couldn't they hypothetically like go after her as a means to like get revenge on him?
But that's not generally what people do.
Because I mean, generally no, but I've heard of like violent gangs like kidnapping like girlfriends or like siblings or parents of like, or cousins of people that they
Yeah,
have a beef with.
but that's like those are like exceptions. That's not generally the thing. I mean, in any case when stuff like that happens, it's usually because, you know, like some ransom type deal because you got a lot of money. But in most cases, like nobody's coming to shoot your family because they got beef with you.
So in other words,
If you're with your family and they see you and it's like on site beef, your family might just be unfortunate
collateral
casualties in that.
damage.
Yeah. But like no one's generally, and I'm not, again, there are exceptions, but generally no one's like, oh, I'm coming to beat up your girl because I can't find you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So I do see what you're saying. It's like that, like maybe like they're under the impression that like if it is a situation where they're like going after like a family member or a girlfriend or whatever who isn't directly involved, more oftentimes than not, it's because they think that that person has money and they want to get to the money.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. So that answers my question, because what I was going to say next is like, how is it, is when you, is that like, I feel like that, like there's a difference between, let's say hypothetically, like, and again, I'm not saying that like somebody like, I'm devil's advocating here.